Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 11th installment of our CSGO podcast, 808s and Fake. I'm Jack,
I'm Tom.
and we don't have time to dilly-dally around. We've got a lot of teams to get to, lots of analysis to be had, and our major preview. So let's just jump right into it. So, Dreamhack Stockholm, the first like major LAN after the player break, and we sure had an interesting winner here. Something that my co-host here has been very excited about. He's been chomping at the bit for this to happen, and they finally did it. North finally won a major LAN.
Yeah, no, took him a while. Better late than never, I suppose.
Yeah, leads you to believe, did they peak at the wrong time though? Because if they peaked one event later, they might have just won a major. Could you imagine MSL with a major? Like how hard would you be? How big would your dick be
Dude,
at
I've
that?
been trying to imagine it for a long time. Like, is the only thing I could think is like if they peaked later, it seems really rough to say they had a good run for themselves, but I think there were some teams that they could have had trouble with potentially along the way. Like I think they could have had a lot of trouble with FaZe or MIBR because they've not matched up well with those teams for a long time. But that being said, like this is a super legit fucking win. It's like two best of threes over Astralis, where the maps I think it was like six completely different maps, but the maps they won were like four different maps off Astralis, and they beat Navi, who I think Navi are fucking absolute frauds at the moment, but that's still like the team that's like the consensus number two in the world. And then you beat Mouse Sports as well, who are like, depending on who you ask, they're probably like fifth or sixth or maybe fourth in the world. On top of that, they like I think the key thing for me is that they showed a super deep map pool, like way deeper than I think most people thought. And I'm not super surprised that they did that because it's kind of the thing I've been talking about for a while where I watch like this team is infuriating. You see a lot of the like CS:GO analysts like CS:GO analyst Twitter was fucking wild throughout this event because like all these people who like either hated or loved North were losing their minds, and it's because when you watch them play, they do so many things really well, but they never put it together and get the wins. And part of like the two things like for me that always held them back was the inconsistency on their CT side, but the main thing is they just fucking lacked firepower. They just had so many players who played really good soldier-esque roles, but they didn't have, aside from Valda, someone who was going to consistently frag super well. And at this LAN, they kind of had it in the sense that AZ was incredible, but overall their whole team seemed to lift to another level. Like obviously the key one there being that MSL was fucking ridiculous. Like
MSL
absolute god tier op at this event somehow.
MSL somehow there's a picture that you sent me of MSL like as the Grim Reaper going through those doors and killing people. Like I don't remember who was on the first door, but on the second door was Oscar, and on the third door was Device. Like who
Oh,
is
the
that?
first was simple.
Oh God. So in this event, in which MSL won tournament MVP as an opper, something I think no one ever expected him to do. Let alone winning a tournament MVP, doing it as an offer is just not something that's generally thought of as MSL's bag. And he did it like taking on top tier op competition. Arguably, like Guardian aside, probably the three like best oppers in the scene right now. Some would say.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's fair. I guess Woxic wasn't at this event, so we couldn't have taken him as well. That's my take. But when you watch him, it's sort of interesting because he kind of is, and you talked about watching device demos a lot, and that's who I'd like in a lot of his opping too, because he obviously doesn't have the skill that device has, though I think he did peak in skill at this tournament. You watch him play, and I think he doesn't really set himself up for difficult shots, which is the best way to do it. Like on like the best way to run the off, especially on a map like Overpass, is you just take the shots that you have to hit, or you take the shots that you're absolutely gonna hit. And there's so many different angles and places you can fall back that you don't really have to take horrible angles, and then it's up to the other team to sort of flash you off of those. But he played that really, really fucking super well. I think there was this like narrative in the final where it's like MSL beat Device 1v1 in the AWP duel, which I don't think is very true. Like, he got more AWP kills than Device, but when you watch those series, it's because their entire game plan was centered around stopping Device, and it worked. Like, their overpass play was fucking so good. Like, whenever they'd go A, they would flash the shit out of him. And like, there was even that round where Kirby just like more or less bunny hops round a corner, completely ignores where all the other Astralis players potentially are just to kill Device. And they were very good at forcing him around the map, and I think part of that was like they watched a shitload of his demos and knew what he was going to do a lot of the time. Um, but also, one thing that they did a fair bit is they would take a lot of care to keep him and usually the other A player on A on overpass, and then they would just go B. Like, they just spammed hit B for most of that overpass map.
So it was a combination of both like hard countering his positions and avoiding him.
Yeah, which I think is kind of, I think it's probably the key way to play against Device, because they, or at least the way for them, because their method was like, we know that we can get into that B site because they had some really good strats, as well as like Valda, AZ, Kiebi, and Nico were just fucking insane with their like opening picks throughout this LAN. Maybe not always like one, or not always one or all at the same time, but they all had different maps where they were just hitting everything, and so I think they were just using that, and that's kind of, I guess that kind of leads me to my problem with that team, and is that I don't know if they can keep it going. Like, I think they're still gonna be like quite good, because I think adding Nico was, he's a real like Daps had that tweet. There's like that fucking meme where it's like he really activates the team, which he kind of does because he's a reliable sort of base. And he didn't actually have that good of a LAN statistically, but he just kind of did his job. And that's all you could ask for this. That's like all they fucking wanted, really.
Especially considering
Because,
it's his first LAN with this team.
yeah, and he's got, all he has to do is make Kirby, AZ, and MSL as comfortable as possible. Because I feel like Valda is a player who doesn't need a ton of resources, but yeah, I like Nico in this team a lot. Like, he'd usually have like a couple rounds of map where he'd do something really nuts, but honestly, most of the time he was just doing his hard job. And I guess that's something you can do with some of the young players, because he's probably super fucking happy to be out of Heroic right now.
Yeah, free of Freiburg's clutches. But like moving forward with this team, do you think that they're just going to be able to get like scouted out now that people know what they're going to be up to? Do you think that this level of skill is going to maintain itself? Because like from what you're describing, them peaking in skill was a huge reason why they won this tournament.
Yeah, I think it really was. Like, I think they can settle at a more reasonable level, because I think a lot of people, to them, AZ being like fucking insane was like, oh my god, it's like 2018 all over again. And he's been shit ever since then. Where it's like, obviously on this show I've been talking about for a long time that AZ is actually like a pretty fucking good player now, and he plays a way, I really like his role in this team, and he's been on the improve. And this is definitely like the trajectory just like spiked, and he reached the level that he's sort of been striving for pretty quickly. But I don't think he's going to stay that high. I think he's going to level off a bit. Same with MSL. Like I was saying, like, I don't think MSL really requires or uses that much skill in his AWPing. He just plays the smart angles and he reliably hits shots. Whether he can keep doing that's a bit hard to say. If he's a competent AWPer, he'll be able to do that for a while, but just because we've not seen him in this role for very long, it's hard to really predict. Like I hope he does, but I don't know. I think they can settle as like they can definitely settle around where like Mouse Sports is right now, I think.
And they'll
But I don't
also
expect them to be a contender for a long period of time. Like they might have like another month or something at this level, but or honestly they might never hit it again because it's just when you look at the stats for the event, like Valdo was their highest, no, sorry, AZ was their highest rated player, but overall they didn't have like, and none of their players were like the crazy stats that you saw out of like Simple, Device, Nico, even like a couple of the net players, because it wasn't necessarily like a team effort, but like players were very up and down throughout the event, weirdly for a team who won. Um, like they didn't have the general stats of a winning team, which tells me that there was a little bit, I don't know how to describe it, almost turning up at the right time. For MSL, there definitely was, because like it's really weird. Like MSL stats were like really fucking good on the maps they won, and usually not like fairly bad on the maps that they didn't win. And I don't know whether that's he turns up when they're rolling or not, or whether it's they roll because he turns up.
one of the concerns that I would have with MSL's opping is that if you're like if what you're saying is like he's just setting himself up for shots, isn't that something that can be easily counterable, especially considering he wouldn't have the skill to like break out of tough situations or get himself out of a jam if say he got flashed out of a position and had to hit a really quick shot.
Yeah, I think he's gonna get demoed up a bit because he doesn't have that luxury where I think people are really gonna test him. Like you have this concept in European football where it's like just get out there and test the keeper, and it's like I think teams are gonna try that. They're gonna be like if he's AWPing, we're just gonna fucking run at him and see what he does. Because if you get into a map and he's missing shots and you're getting picks on him, you're just gonna abuse the fuck out of that. And because he's the AWPer, he's kind of the main point in on CT side, especially. He's like the point of the defense, and if that's not standing, you're just gonna smash that shit constantly and get yourself into a good situation. I think he's an incredibly smart player, so he can circumvent that. And on top of the fact that he is kind of taking the device style, as you said, like I think he's going to be able, as himself and as a member of a team, he's going to create some situations where he can thrive. But yeah, I definitely think he's gonna take a down a bit of a bit of a dip based on the just people watching the fuck out of his demos. Like that like Zonic and Glaive are gonna be ready to play North when they next meet them, because I think part of it is the teams weren't as well versed on them at this tournament, but not that they weren't watching their demos, but you don't watch their demos like you watch Liquid, FaZe, Navi, that sort of thing.
And also, like this is probably a good chance to segue to Astralis. Generally, all the teams that have beaten them in the final, like the next time they run into them, they just smash them. Like when after FaZe beat them in Sydney, they fucking smashed them. After Navi beat them, I think after they played Navi, they beat them pretty soundly, unless they haven't played them yet.
Trying to think if they have.
I
I
think
know
they
that
have.
obviously the first time they played Navi beat them, and then they knocked out. I'm pretty sure they have, but yeah, Astralis tend to do well. Like, and part of that usually is that when they do lose to a team, it's when the gods of CS come down from heaven and like bless that team with like ridiculous individual skill. For like a series like FaZe at
Sydney.
FaZe at Sydney, and then Navi at was it Starlight? I can't remember, but when and I guess here as well with North, like I think that, and not to mention like those two teams barely got by Astralis, and then North here, like North they smashed them on Dust 2, and then like obviously got smashed on Astralis's map pick, but then they got smashed on their own map pick train, and then headed into the third map. Like the third map can go a lot of ways. Uh Astralis kind of got the roughest part of the CT side, which is when your economy just keeps getting broken. Because Astralis actually had a really, really good T side. they just couldn't hold off those B rushes, and like every time they seemed to get a foothold into the game, uh, North would just hit that rush or something and break their economy, or even when they're winning a lot of rounds, they would do a ton of damage. Like there was that time where Valda nearly gets like a 1v3 that Astralis just clutch out, and it's just Magus Goliath, and the next round they're heading in with like SMGs and shit, and I think they lose the round because of it. But yeah, like North really managed their money super well, but I think that final still could have gone either way. And I will say, of course, like I think it's a little they kind of Carriganed the veto and went for the kind of ballsy pick, which I like in a lot of teams where they took Dust 2, because I don't think they were going to pick Dust 2. They just saw how absolutely horrific North was against Mouse Sports. Like got 16-0'd, looked like they had never played the map before, couldn't get a footing anywhere in the fucking in the map, and then literally 3 hours later they play Astralis and they look incredible on it. And like the obvious joke that everyone was going to is like, oh, MSL's a genius, they threw the map to trick Astralis. But it's like to some degree you're just like, is there a more reasonable explanation for this? Like, because they looked, I wouldn't have believed you if you blacked the names out and then told me those were the same team, because they did not look it at all.
But going forward with Astralis, do you think that the reason they lost this tournament was just like player break rust or resting on their laurels or what?
It definitely I think it was like mainly on North, like just having a fucking worldy and like playing fantastic Counter Strike with really good firepower, finally turning up. But yeah, because it was a pretty fucking good run from Astralis in the end, because you can say like you can to some degree be like it was a regional derby, which makes it a little bit harder. And they showed some like cool things, I think, where like their map pool looked still refreshed, and pretty dynamic. Like they had a couple of strats that they pulled out, like that Mirage B execute where they put a shitload of smokes in. Like they pulled that out a few times during this tournament, and they I think they won like every single round where they tried it, because it's just so fucking hard to deal with. But I think I would agree that like they were hit a fair bit negatively, because they weren't as sharp as they usually were individually, because it's usually this like perfect system, but they looked a little sluggish at times, and I think that probably was the player break.
I mean, as Astralis homers, I think that probably getting knocked down a peg here at Stockholm is probably like the best thing possible for the major coming up. That way they know they have to be on their fucking A game because they're not this unstoppable juggernaut right now. Some team with MSL opping just beat them in a grand final.
I mean, I wouldn't. I don't think they're a team who really get too overconfident or anything, because they have definitely been tested, at least to like a solid degree over time. Because I wouldn't like I don't know if any team could have dealt with that North team in that final, like in how they played. Whereas I don't know, like I think that they're it probably helps them in the sense that more that they had this chance where they can kind of get the rust off a bit before the major. Because if you're immediately heading into the group stage, or because they're going to be in the qualifier stage, but you're immediately heading into that a little bit rusty, haven't played in 3-4 weeks, then that's a problem, especially because it's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be easy for any team really going through that, because every team here is like playing, like this is the most important event for most of those teams. Even for Astralis, this is their number one event of the year, so everyone's going to be like pulling out everything they have in their strat book for this.
A no holds barred fight to the finish.
Yeah, so it's almost like it was kind of weird, because I think they hid a lot of stuff. Like they didn't show it very much at this major, but they or this at Stockholm, but they pulled out a few things, and I think they're going to be pretty recovered by next event in terms of the rust, because you could see it, especially in the earlier parts of the tournament. They just looked a little awkward at times. like not to the high standard, you know. But there's at least promising parts, like I'm saying, like their map pool looks fucking insane as always right now. Like that Dust 2, you can probably write that one off as like we thought that they were awful. We didn't know how they were going to play properly, but because before that they were like 5-0 on Dust 2 since the remake came out. And the big one, I guess, is that their train looks very, very good.
Yeah,
Like
that was a surprise to me.
MIBR.
That was a surprise to me, at least like looking back at some of the games. Like they played Train a fair bit, and generally that was one of the maps they tended to ban, or at least try to get away from.
Yeah, it's kind of half half, I think. Yeah, where they would often like just not touch train, and then teams would just let it go through, and then them or the other team would ban it in the last phase, or or they would just, yeah, ban it up front if they felt like it. Though it's been a while since they've, because it's either Cash or Mirage that they ban now, which is, I don't think it's a bad call, to be honest. But it was a bit of that, like, I don't think teams are ready for them to play train, especially like MIBR went into that series like we know they're going to ban Cash or Mirage against us. We can take train, and if we specifically like set ourselves up for it, we can do it. It was a bit of that. It was a bit of that fucking like Glaive playing train, no papa, telling
Oh
lies, no
no!
papa. Open your strat book and you just fucking lose. Like, but
God damn it! I didn't want this meme to come to this podcast, but it seems you brought this blight upon us.
but they did actually look like they fucking obliterated North on that map, and I think North as well had it in their minds that like we can train this map up and beat Astralis. And I was like, no, they clearly worked in the player break as well. It's like they were never bad on the map because they were great on it before. I think they were just able to hide it long enough because they barely played it. The problem was that on the third map, MSL was just like, open your mouth, Glaive.
Ugh,
But yeah,
God.
I wouldn't be. I don't think people should be worried for Astralis. Like I think they're going to. I think they're still going to go into the major with at a very high level. Like they're still hot favorites. Like I don't. I think it would be insane for someone to say that they think they're the favorite to the major. Because even the only concern you could have, I guess, is the device wasn't as good as usual. But he still had a 1.24 rating at this event, and he was still lights out for a fair pound, like for a fair few maps.
Particularly in the group stage, like he just absolutely shit on the group stage, but he generally does that anyways. Like that
Because
should.
I think it was because I know he was like he was very solid against Nip, like MIBR as well. Then yeah, because I know he absolutely fucking torched Tyloo. Because there was that, yeah, he was like 28-7 against Tyloo on that one map. And part of that is like I like the confidence almost in that series where they let Tyloo have Mirage. And they probably shouldn't have because it was a bit of a risk, but they still ended up like because they ended up losing Mirage, but then they just dominated the rest of the series like 16-7, 16-5.
They tried to make the big baller play, and they fell a bit short, to say it the least.
Yeah, it's just device looked a little it looked a little awkward at times, but it's like of course you have like the super high standard for him. So it's a bit hard to gauge him potentially. Because I think against North in the final there was just because I it feels harsh to almost blame him because North countered him super well, but like you have to get a bit more out of your superstar. Like he can't have like he was great on the one map they won in the final, but he has to show a little more on that overpass, I think, because that should be his fucking map, and he has to sort of assert himself on there. And it might be because he's definitely one of them demo rats, like last in, first in, last out, sort of thing. But and so maybe getting a bit more used to MSL style, he'll be able to work a little better against him. On top of like Glaive and Zonic being more used to how North sort of look to counter him. But yeah, he does need to do more in that final, even though he was pretty good throughout the event.
Another thing that I think that Astralis should probably look at is, I mean, other teams are obviously going to have these demos. Like they're going to see how North countered him, countered Device, and as we said, like Device is kind of the key to this team. If you shut down Device, it kind of breaks down both their sides really, but especially the CT side. I think they're gonna have to figure out ways to like still make Device effective even when teams start to pull out these hard counters and focus a ton of their resources on stopping him.
I think I wouldn't be too worried on that if I'm Astralis, because I wouldn't necessarily say he's the key to stopping them. Like he is, but I'd articulate it more that stopping Device makes it possible to beat them. If you don't stop him, you cannot win. Like it's just like if you don't stop him from performing, you immediately lose, because he sort of operates as like a separate entity from the team in some degree, where he's just constantly getting them opening picks, constantly like whittling away your team every single round. And that's like a very hard thing to counter, and then have to go into the site and face the riflers who are fucking insane, particularly on the CT side. So I think the other reason I wouldn't be worried is that he like doing what North did is very hard, and I don't think a lot of teams can do it that well, just because North are so tactical, and there are a lot of players who are willing to do like almost the hard work that I don't think you're going to get out of a lot. You can't do with a lot of systems, but also I don't think you get out of a lot of players. Like I think these players are happy to just do these like super selfless roles, or just be throwing like a shitload of flashes and being very careful. Like I don't know if, I guess with Yanker now, but like I don't know if MIBR would be able or willing to work this hard to stop him in this way, at least. Because a lot of the time, like you're saying, they weren't actually fighting Device until it was like either right on the site, or they would just avoid him.
Listen, I just have to. I think part of my concern about this is just that like I'm an eternal pessimist when it comes to things that I love and support and cherish. And like you're with me in voice all the time whenever we watch these Astralis games. Like one of your favorite memes to bring out is anytime an Astralis player takes damage, just like, oh, that's not good. It's like,
Yeah, that fucking oh boy, that's not good meme or whatever it is.
yeah, that's me. That's me with every single fucking team I support. And anything that can go wrong in my mind with Astralis like will go wrong. Like, and that applies to any team really, any team that I like. It's not just that Astralis have had like a previous history of fucking up in big moments. Like that obviously, I don't know if I don't know if we can say that happened here, but it's like anything like it's possible for the major, and that's what just concerns me. And even more concerning is that I'm gonna be there fucking live, and so if they just blow up in my face live, it's gonna be bad. I'm just glad that like no one's gonna have a camera around me like taking videos of my like absolute mental breakdown if they lose in like the semis or some shit to MIBR.
I mean, it's very difficult to win a major. Like I think it's very hard to have more than like a 50% chance overall at winning the major. Just because there's so many good teams and there's so many different things that can happen. But I think they're probably like Astralis right now is as good of a bet you had going into a major as any,
Oh yeah, they should be the most favored team going into any major ever, to
because
be
they have
quite
great
honest.
matchups with pretty much everyone. They've shown that they can beat pretty much everyone. Yeah, I'm not really worried.
Like my brain is telling me Stars are gonna win. Just bet your life savings on it. But my heart is telling me they're gonna fuck it up. Bet FaZe, you fool. But getting off of Astralis for a bit. Let's talk about Mouse Sports. Let's talk about their run to the semifinals.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad, honestly. Like that was a pretty solid event from them.
They beat FaZe in a best of three. They they fucking 16-0'd North on Dust 2.
They had sort of both sides of like the weird map thing. Like they got, and I guess we'll get into more of this if when we talk about FaZe, but So they lost 16-1 to FaZe on Cash, and then like grinded them out like 16-11, 16-11 on Bus 2 and Train. The problem I have with that series is just it wasn't as fun as I thought it would be. Like that on paper should be a really sick series and like super entertaining, but it just wasn't, unfortunately. Like I think those two maps weren't as they're a bit deceptively close, and it just kind of bummed me out that like FaZe just did not look good at this event. But it's still like that's a legit thing because FaZe is meant like they're meant to be like mini FaZe. My problem with them is that they didn't close out that series over Norf because yeah, 16-0 the first map and then they lost Inferno and Mirage in like very close fashion. Like for me, that was that would have been the moment where they can kind of make to the final and have a stab at Device and also have a stab at Astralis, and that'd be like a huge deal, like fucking great success. They finally like put themselves up to being a tier one team, like one of those, like maybe like second best in the world or whatever. But yeah, it's almost weird. Like they stumbled when you wouldn't expect them to. Like they got smashed by MIBR in groups in a best of three, and then they couldn't get past North. Like it was a really weird event, to be honest.
Do you have any thoughts on like the player composition still and how all these players are kind of working? Is it still just the same shit where it's like, all right, Oscar go off now, Sonny and Rops go off, or are they getting some kind of consistent play out of any of their players?
And Snacks was pretty bad at this event. Like
Oh, that's true. 'Cause Snack is the
I still
rocks of
don't
just
fucking
being.
get the point of Snacks in this team. It's so fucking annoying. And part of me is kind of glad with these rumors coming out that like they're going to like change their roster after the major because like but my thing is like I bet they're gonna fucking kick like Chris J or something stupid like that because this is what young players do. On the bright side, Rops was very, very good at this event. Sunny was quite solid. Like Oscar was reasonable. But I guess I don't know. Rops is the guy whose role I really like, and I quite like him as a player. And he was probably their best player here. So
I mean, that's an encouraging sign moving forward. I think that the young guys are gonna have to take over this team, as I've said like a million times with this. Like how long is Oscar going to be able to just be incredibly like roller coastery as a player when he's like 27? How long can you rely on that for?
it's just a team that needs a fucking GM or something. Like someone needs to come in and make them and make their decisions for them because I don't trust them to do the right thing. A Spike Lee joint.
I was going to make that joke. Fuck you. So basically just kick Snacks, get anyone else.
Yeah, if you can get Sticker back, like that's probably the best move, honestly. Or I guess MBK or Apex, but still, like I just like, cause why did you get Snacks? Like, because if you're gonna get Snacks, like you have to kick Sunny or Oscar. You can't have all three. Like, just stop it.
But
Stop it.
but Tom, 300 grand. This might be one of those situations where in sports when you pay a guy like huge money, you just think that, oh, we paid a lot of money for this guy, we have to use him. Like, no, you don't. If he sucks, he sucks.
I think it happens a lot in football and stuff where and the problem, like the good thing is, like in that you can bench them if they're bad, or you can try out different compositions, or you don't have to potentially stick with that player. But I think the problem is they didn't go who is like who's the player we can get who would fit this team best. They barely went who's the best player we can get. They kind of went what's the best, like who's the biggest name player we can get right now. And Snacks was available, so they just like took him and they didn't really think like it seems like they didn't think like how's he going to suit this team because I don't think like Snacks doesn't look like a player who's been humbled or anything.
Any person, any CS:GO analyst with a brain saw the Snacks move and thought, "What the fuck are they doing? How does this fit?" Because like looking at the move, like even when we first saw it, we were like, "This doesn't make any sense composition wise. How is this going to work?" And lo and behold, it hasn't worked.
Yeah, everyone told them this was going to happen and then it happened. Like I don't even know what to say for this team anymore. Like absolutely no one is surprised by this shit.
Like I'd say basically until they get snacks and fix how they play as a team, which are two honestly monumental tasks at this point. Like they're never gonna be a team that we consider one that like should be a favorite to win an event. Like they're just gonna probably get to the semis, maybe make the odd final, maybe if like Sunny Rops and Oscar all go off, and then they'll just get beat down in the final by Astralis or something. Like that's just the hard ceiling for this team, especially with snacks.
Because I think they are going to do something stupid soon and mess it up because they got from where they came from, they got to a really good point, and then they just made the wrong fucking moves, and now they have this problem where it'd be best if they could take a step back and then make a move from there potentially. Like I feel like they're just at some point you kind of want to just blow up this roster. But I would want to just take that like Chris J, Rob, Sunny core and do something with that. Like I'm just like tired of mouse sports. Like I'm so tired of their shit.
Honestly, what would be really cool is if like they managed to get Woxic somehow free of Hellraisers. That'd be nice.
The problem is no one's gonna like yeah,
No, it'll never
I think we
happen.
talked
It'll
about that a
never
while
happen.
ago where that would be super sick and they might even be able to do it. The problem is even getting him out of the Hellraisers contract, he has those huge visa problems, so a lot of like tier 1 teams aren't going to take him while that's still a problem.
That's true, and that's really unfortunate.
So I think they probably would go for him if he didn't have those issues because he would be fucking sick in this team if you just immediately replaced Oscar with him.
Yeah, he's
And even
basically
if you brought
just.
Issa across for snacks.
Oh, that would be. Oh man, imagine that entry duo of Sunny and Issa. That'd be fucking sick.
Like that's a team where like that yeah, that could be incredible. Like I'll just say like there's a good chance that team like is better than FaZe for the if that team happened now going into the near future.
Oh, I think absolutely. Like that. Like this phase roster seems really fucking stale right now.
Mm.
Do we wanna just like jump to phase here for a sec?
Yeah, for the sake of
Excellent
transition
segues.
smoothness, we can go to FaZe and then we'll just like go back up to but yeah.
Like let's talk about phase. What went wrong for them here?
I was really disappointed with FaZe at this tournament. Because like I was saying, I thought that Mouse series was gonna be nuts, but it wasn't, and they're probably feel like fucking idiots for not winning that series. If you 16-1 another team's map pick and then lose the series, like that's a huge issue, especially because Mouse, like they're meant to be Mouse but with better players and like a better in-game leader, and they somehow fucking lose that series. Like I guess, and I agree that team looks really stale. Like they look like super flat. Like they didn't blow me away at all. And I don't think that Carrigan's like the kind of guy who's going to allow them to get complacent like this. Like I think he's going to be able to pull something at the major and activate them to some degree. But this was very concerning and doesn't scream we're contenders at the next major to me. Uh, I guess it's like it's not completely negative because like we saw some really good flashes from Guardian and Rain sort of I think Rain bounced back from a pretty horrible land to some degree.
Not just a
And I guess
horrible
on top
land,
of
but
that,
like a
Nico's still a fucking machine. Like Nico's still like one of the top players in the scene right now. Like he's arguably the world number one if Simple isn't still insane.
honestly, like that wasn't just a horrible like event from Rain, the previous event. It was just a horrible stretch for him. Like he was hot garbage for a while.
Yeah, like he was definitely having. I think he definitely had some like weaker form. Like he's come down from that like super high level he had for a lot of the year, or a decent, or the start of the year at least. But yeah, that last event was like particularly horrific, and some of it is like him readjusting to Olaf being in the team, and like they share a lot of the same roles. But I really do expect more out of him and this team.
Do you have any concerns about this phase team eventually just falling into the same cycle that most of these like these Kerrigan led teams do, where they just like slowly lose confidence in him, and then by the end they just want him gone.
I mean it's already kind of happened allegedly in the past. Like people have been saying that that they nearly did kick him at some point, and they were exploring, like there was one point where they wanted to bring in Shocks and have him as the in-game leader.
Thank God that didn't
But
happen.
I think Shocks is like, I don't want to move, or not move rather. Like I don't want to be an English-speaking team, and I don't want to, I don't want to be an in-game leader anymore. So like, okay then, right.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah, I think there is a good chance that like the egos of the players kind of gets a bit much, and they think that they can do better. But the problem is, because so people say a lot that they should kick Carrigan from this team as like the one guy, but I don't think you can get a better in-game leader. So that's, to me, that's off the table.
yeah. Like who are they gonna pick up? Like this is probably just another case of the the skilled players being like, well, why we can just do this with any in-game leader because we're sick. But like, can you? That's the real question. Like like Kerrigan has shown his ability to unlock the like the most of your potential. Like you were in a very winnable major final, and to be honest, like the skill players came up short aside from Guardian.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time you can't blame Carrigan for their failures, even though pretty much everyone does.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily fair. Like especially considering like who else is gonna, I guess, like keep this team together for as long as he has and set up the players to maximize their strengths as well as he can.
He's perfect for this team because he has that like loose style that I think most of these players want to play. I'd be like we've said before, it'd be a huge mistake for them to kick Carrigan. I think, like for me, they have to. There's blowing up this team. I think would be a big mistake, or in the sense that if you really have to make moves, I think you start with like Carrigan, Nico, and Guardian. I don't think any of them are touchable. Like you can't get rid of any of them unless Guardian's really looking to end his career or whatever. But those three should be absolutely no way are they getting traded at all.
Yeah, I guess the only question is like at that point, do you just get like more supportive players? Because I don't think that Rain or Olaf Meister are going to be able to like play support roles at a high level.
I think you just get like you go firepower and then a support player. Fuck it. Get MBK and Apex. Get like whoever you can, because there have been apparently Olaf doesn't think there's, or people don't think there's much Olaf left. Like he might be looking to retire in the near future. But
Mm, I don't know if that's a combination of like whatever personal issue it is and also like his dip in form, but I could see it happening, honestly. I could see that.
and also he's made his money and his legacy at this point, so
Yeah.
there's there's not necessarily still shit for him to do in this scene. Like he's kind of been there, done that.
Yeah, I mean, if I was Olaf Meister, I could definitely walk away from the game feeling satisfied with what I've done.
I think it also might be because of like whatever stuff going on in his life. He feels he feels like the sort of like retire bitch in his head is like stronger than usual. Like he might. I wouldn't be surprised if he just kind of shrugged that off and kept going.
But do you think do you are there like any are like do you have any more thoughts on FaZe or what they'd need to do to get back to the top besides make a roster move at this point?
Yeah, and I mean, definitely, now's not the time to make a roster move. Uh, like I
Well,
think you'd
obviously
ride this
not.
team out for a fair while, yeah. Because like I'll say, like a lot of people in the scene right now are calling for them to make a move, which would be insane.
Not right before the
But
major. Like, come on, at least get past that.
but yeah, I think that I don't know. Like I trust that Carrigan's got something. Like he's too good to not have something ready for that major or some idea of how he can get them going again. Because you have to turn this form from Nico into something.
All right. After that brief interruption, let's return to the last team of the semifinals that we just skipped over, NIP. After just like bombing out and being awful at the last event they played at, they made a top four. It's a nice little
Yes, we're
surprise.
good. I think that this was a weird event for them because it really was that thing where people talk about like the home team sort of like bonus, the boost you get from the home team fans, like to use an appropriate analogy for right now. Like I was reminded very much of the Pokemon movie by this team in the sense that like over the last few years NIP have definitely been turned to stone and the only thing that can save them is the tears of their many fans like flowing across the stadium to their booth and giving them powers again. But it kind of falls apart in the sense where you realize kind of Mewtwo is just them being a bit shit. It's not actually any force coming up against them. It's just them falling apart over the years. But I enjoyed watching them this land. It was really fun. Like they were super hype. Exactly that thing that we've been talking about where it's like the coolest frag movies or the best like sick frag movies to actually being a good team ratio in the scene. I think that my only thing was that I think the analysts were so fucking generous towards them in that Astralis series. Like they were like they're in control of Mirage and blah blah blah, and they should have won that. And Nuke could have gone. It's like no, Nuke was not at all their map when you watch that shit back. They lost 16-7 and almost all of their rounds were due to like an insane play coming out of someone. Like Forest had like that 1v4 and then I remember there was a couple other ones, but essentially like them just making huge plays like kept them from getting like 16-2'd in that map.
I mean, I'm glad that we have a super volatile team in the scene. It's not like we don't have any of those right now.
I
But
guess the brightest thing is that Forest was very very good at this event.
dude,
Like and that's just because like usually he doesn't show much at all. Like I think throughout most of it, actually, he was. Yeah, I think like ignoring the Astralis series, like up to that, there was. Yeah, he was great on every map until they got to. Yeah, because against Astralis, like his stats aren't as brilliant, but like a lot of the time he was making these insane plays. Like he was winning them pistol rounds like single handedly for a fair, for a fair portion of this. The problem was that Dennis was pretty horrific at this tournament. Like he really, really struggled. Um, but I do want to say quickly as well that the big problem I had with Forest being nuts is that like no one paid any attention to how fucking sick Rez was.
I mean, why would you craft a narrative around a young guy when you could literally craft a narrative around like one of the greatest like Counter-Strike players to ever play?
A
Probably
guy
the
who
pro
is literally 10 years older than Rez.
probably the best like Counter-Strike player across both versions ever. Because like Neo never stacked up to anything against in Go, and like Forrest has again showed this ridiculous fucking talent that he's always had.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of done with Forest at this point because he doesn't show it at all consistently. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he has a really fucking ordinary major.
Oh, I totally expect that. I totally expect Nip to like
Yeah.
not make top eight at all.
Yeah, that's cuz yeah, that's why the scene doesn't really seem to care about Rez as much whereas like Rez was fucking insane and he plays like and he's been playing that entry role as well. So like yeah, they almost should have done better when you consider how fucking sick he was.
Did you have any thoughts on Get Right, or is he just kind of being again?
He was fine. He definitely had his moments. I just I don't know. I feel like there's almost like there's kind of you just wheel him out, you show him to the crowd, they get happy.
You take a couple pictures of him like DMing 3 hours before the map and say, "Look, he's working so hard."
Yeah, like I mean, he was he wasn't good at this LAN. Like he was fine, but he doesn't really have like I don't think his role is to frag anymore. I don't know what his role is honestly. Like he's just over the hill, and you keep him around because you get those brand deals. Like
Honestly, I probably wouldn't hate it if like Get Right and Neo retired, because like
I
they're
think
that's
Get
kind
Right
of
probably should after this major because that was like getting back to the major was their demon, and he's done it. So
wouldn't it just be like the craziest shit if like they did that thing where like Peyton Manning gets carried to his last fucking championship, and then just like Forrest and Rez just become like the best two players at the major and carry Get Right to his last championship.
God, I'm gonna say straight up, it wouldn't be Forest. I don't think Forest is doing this in a major.
So who the fuck would it be then? Dennis?
Potentially, yeah, because I mean, in the end, when you look at it, they beat NRG, Ghost, and Heroic. Like these aren't the teams that are like these aren't the teams that really test you. You know,
I don't know, man.
the
Steel's
Ghost
back.
took them to 3 maps.
Steel's back, baby. You never know.
Yeah, that's true. I was pretty hyped for them, but yeah, I don't know. It was really fun to watch Nip, but I think yeah, was it top four is a little bit of a that's a little bit of a uh like complimentary position for them. Though to be fair, they beat the teams that were in front of them, and it's a little harsh that they ran into Astralis so early, or not sorry, they ran to Astralis there because they maybe could have had a shot at North or probably Mouse Sports too. Yeah.
All right. That's it about Nip. Let's talk about your whipping boys, the team that you've been wanting to beat up on all night. Let's talk about Navi. Thoughts?
Yeah. So for Navi, like I would just say this team's a fucking jerk. Like this team's a fucking jerk. Like I'm so fucking done with this garbage ass team right now. Like I'm just sick of them because like what's the fucking point, man? Like
You're wasting one of
it
the
wasn't
greatest
even.
primes of all time.
Oh, absolutely. Because when you look through this LAN, it's like, what did they do? They lost. So they start off losing a best of one to Ghost, which I don't know why the fuck they were playing Dust 2, but
Dude, I
like I don't know. I guess that they think that's one of their maps now. But they're playing against Ghost. They lose the fucking best of one, and then they go down to play NRG, which like we'll get to NRG later, but like NRG is a team that they should absolutely be beating, and they really had to scrap to beat NRG. It was close, and then they go up against Ghost, a series that they could have lost. It gets to 3 maps, and like we're gonna compliment the fuck out of Ghost because like they've done super well for what they have and the how new of a team they are. But again, Navi should be wiping the floor with this team. They just scrape by them, and they get to North. And as sort of glowing reviews we've given North, uh, a lot of teams really took North pretty far, like getting to 10 rounds or even like smashing them on some maps. Navi just got absolutely rolled over by North. It was not a contest whatsoever. And part of it was that I think that they didn't get any production at all out of players that were not named Electronic and Simple. But the problem for me on top of that is like you watch those games and they just made like fundamentally bad decisions. Like just pretty inexcusably bad decisions. Like they would go for rotates and retakes and buys and like gambles and stuff like that that they just did not have to do. Like it cost them big rounds that didn't have to be big rounds almost. Like the game would be like they'd be down like 9 to 10 or something, and they would like go for some insane gamble stack, and it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like it just why like just play the round out, and if you lose the round, it's not the end of the world. But I don't know why you're throwing these Hail Mary. Like it's like you're halfway through a fucking NFL game, and it's like a pretty close game, and you just start throwing fucking Hail Marys. Like what the fuck? Like what are you doing? Like I don't understand ZEUS. I don't get his calling style anymore. Like I'm so absolutely out on this guy. You
Yeah,
know, like he had great production from Electronic, and Simple is still a fucking animal right now, and they're not winning.
it's it's very funny considering that like Zeus was chatting all that hot shit after he won 3 lands, where like one of them was like super legit. And now he's just kind of like sitting back right before the major, and he's kind of just like fucking taking his foot off the gas.
And it's those rumors we've heard in the past that like he doesn't push himself anymore, and like he really like he as an individual and potentially as a leader, because I don't think any of the other leaders in the scene would have this thing, because I'll even say they probably should have gotten like 16-2, 16-3 on that second map against against North, even that like got 16-3 on their own map pick. And then yeah, it should have been something like that on the second map, because the only like Simple had nut stats throughout the tournament, and his stats against North were not particularly great, but they got like wrecked by North, so it doesn't even matter as much. But on that second map, they lost 16-9, and the only reason they got to fucking 9 rounds is because Simple had these insane fucking plays in the on the T half, where he had like 4 or 5 rounds that he pretty much single handedly won them, or like dug out for them, where he was like they like one man armied him an AK at one point, and he just like went through the edge of a smoke and killed 2 guys. And it's such a fucking waste, this team, man. Like it's such a waste of his talent, and in general just like this, it's a waste of money as like almost like I don't like why are they doing this, you know? Like that's whenever I just see them, that's all I think is just like why.
I really hope that Simple and like Electronic can find a way out of this team, because like fuck,
If they
imagine.
could get Angel onto this team, actually just bring like actually I guess you can't because Woxic. If you could like magically fix Woxic's visa issues, and then bring Issa, Woxic, and Angel to this team, because I don't think Flamey's gonna last because of
I'd
the
rather have right
rumored
now.
controversy right now.
Right,
Because I would keep him if I could, but I don't think it's happening.
man. Honestly at this point I'd rather have fucking Issa than Flamey, just because like I know what I'm gonna get from Issa. I never know what I'm gonna get from Flamey at this point.
I mean potentially.
Like obviously the skill ceiling with Flamey is definitely higher than Issa, but like at least I know what Issa's gonna do game to game. Like Flamey can drop like 25 frags and then like 10 the next map.
I think a lot of that's because I think he's I don't think he's I think there's some stuff like going on with him personally, but also like I don't think this team is not a place that he's been trying to get out of this team for a while. Like I think he was one of the driving forces behind that MIBR move that nearly happened. But yeah, I'm just fucking out on this team. Like how can you have this Simple and not really be one of the like the hot prospects for the major? Like I don't understand this at all.
I mean, you can if your in-game leader's like a raving egomaniac. Oh, look at that. So yeah, Navi hot frauds.
Yeah, awful. More frauds than mouse sports right now. Like I tweeted when they were playing. I'm just like a bunch of times, just like imagine thinking this is the second best Counter Strike team in the world. Like imagine thinking that.
Ooh. Fraudus Vincere. We did it, folks.
There we go. Got a new one. Mouse sports get a reprieve for the foreseeable future.
Folks, we got him. All right, let's switch over to MIBR and their newly tendered coach, Yanko. So how did you think that MIBR did at this event?
They're actually pretty good. Like I was pretty happy with MIBR. I think it was I think it was a little harsh for them to run into Astralis so early because they did show something pretty promising. The problem I guess is that it's very hard to get past Astralis, so they rocked through group stages pretty well, I believe.
I mean, the best sign for
Checking
them
if
is
that's
that
right.
like Cold Zero looks really back. Like he was very good at this event.
Oh yeah, like that duo of Cold Zera and Tarek looks like a genuine, like really good star setup, as well as like Fallen was Fallen's made at least somewhat of a comeback at times. But like looking through that event, like they started with Hellraisers, which isn't, and it's like whatever. Like you're probably gonna cruise past them. They didn't have Walk Six, that's not really a problem. But they like destroyed Mouse Sports, and then when they played Astralis, there was that close train map, which was still impressive that they took them close, and then they got like smashed and overpass. And like I think the thing I tweeted was like they've made it to the mark of a solid CS:GO team, which is you play Astralis and you narrowly lose your map pick and then get blown up on your pick. However, I do think that some people really fucking overblew that train map to some degree. Just because they're like, oh man, they're nearly back. They played Astralis close, and it's like, no, they worked super hard to get and prepared a map that they knew that they could get against Astralis, that they knew would be deep in Astralis's map pool, and they still didn't win it. Like this was everything that for their series went into this map, and it still didn't matter. Like it's still a good look, but I don't like the amount of people being like, oh man, they're tier one very soon.
Yeah, I don't like it's clear that like it's very clear that like adding Yanko probably added a new energy and approach to
Yeah.
how they've been preparing because like you don't just go from like pretty much like bottoming out before our very eyes to you actually almost won a map off Astralis and you smashed a almost tier 1 team in the group stage. Like that doesn't just happen overnight.
And I mean, it's the thing we've been saying where it's like they have to get better at some point. This is like not a it's not a bad like it's not the worst thing for Yanko to jump in here because it's almost impossible that you don't improve this team because they're so lacking for how good the players they have are. Like they just like overall they had some pretty good stats at this event. Like my only thing is like Stewie was pretty weak, and I kind of like I think I'm going to end up just like watching a bunch of their demos because I just want to like I want to know what the fuck Stewie's role is in this team because I don't think I understand it because he looks kind of pointless. Because obviously his skill set is probably kind of useless because of the other guys they've got in this team and like Tarek for particularly, but I want to understand why he's here.
Well, I think that I don't know how ruthless Yanko wants to be with the roster moves, or if he has any decisions in that for that matter. Because I know Noah Winston wants to keep the brand names together, but
Yeah.
like I think that I wouldn't hate to see Stewie like not be on this team anymore. I wouldn't hate if they brought
Oh
in a
yeah, I'd
more
cut him,
I w
100%.
yeah I wouldn't hate to see a more like a more role guy like to I guess be new Taco in this team. Because I think that that would be a benefit to everyone, just so they don't have so many overlapping roles, and they have a guy who's more comfortable deferring to the more aggressive players and Cold Zera.
Because like the only person I see like saying that Stewie can fill that role is like Launders, who like low key thinks Stewie is like he thinks that there's like that Stewie's like some Dupree or I don't know, like essentially just another fur or one of these like aggressive superstars who can do a lot of things, but that's just not who Stewie is. Like he's a good player, but he's not this like low key superstar that a lot of the North American people think he is.
I mean,
Like
if
I think you got to get rid of him at this point because or eventually, like not now, definitely. Like you ride this out and see where you can go with Yanko, but like he's the first guy who gets cut if you're making moves, 100%.
yeah, because I think Tarek can fill the like aggressive role really well. I just don't know. I just don't know what Stewie would have done. Like what Stewie
He's
can do.
already playing it better than Stewie ever has in this team. And I mean, I'll even say towards the end of Cloud9, Tarek was hands down their best player. Like I really prefer him to Stewie, honestly.
Like I would agree. I think Tarek can fill like a specific role better than Stewie can. It just feels like Stewie's one of those guys who's like a jack of all trades, a master of none. Like he can be an aggressive playmaker, like he can be decent at it. He can be a decent like secondary opper, but he's never gonna be. I think if Stewie was a superstar, he would have popped by now, and that's the problem.
To some degree, I'd say so. Though, like, I don't know if he's in the best position for him to pop as a superstar right now.
That's true, but like even in Cloud9, like I don't think he necessarily like popped as hard as people say he did.
That's
Because
true. Like, he
because like
definitely had like his moments when he was in game leading the team and building everything around himself. But he never really he never ascended to the level people thought he did.
and that's one of my biggest problems with like the narrative that Stewie's some superstar player. Like to me, he never showed it, and that's the problem.
I think it's also that because he's probably the most overrated North American player, like or maybe the most overrated player in the scene because he had like a big brand around him. And I'ma just say it's because of these like little fucking like loser geeks out there who are just like they see Stewie and they're like, that could be me someday. It's like, no, it's not. Like you're not as talented as him. Like he's fucking got insane individual talent. Like he's like you'll never be what he is, and I think they fell in love with the story and just like believed in him because of that.
So Stewie aside, this MIBR team actually looking up.
Yeah, no, this is pretty good. Like pretty promising heading into the major. Like they can probably do some damage.
Speaking of teams that are looking up, let's talk about a newcomer to this list of teams that we've ever talked about. Ghost. This is Steel's venture back into top level CS, and it was actually, you know what, pretty surprising in a good way.
Yeah, it was kind of frustrating to some degree because you see Steel like doing a really good job on this team. You're like, why Valve? Like, why have you fucking decided to ban him for his whole career? Like, imagine if he was on Liquid right now, or Cloud9, or any of these NA teams.
Let's
Like
just
even
let's just
Mouse
stick with
Sports,
Liquid.
fuck it.
Let's just stick with Liquid.
Or I mean, in the reality where they got him instead of losing Tarek and Stewie, but like he could do some really cool shit because this team looks really good, and this is with Crystal on the team, who is like just a straight up bot. Like this isn't even, and Crystal's not permanent, so they might well just keep him, or they might well just replace him with like a pretty solid player, and like. I think the performances they've had recently have probably increase the quality of the player that they can pick up because people have seen this sort of proof of concept. But when you look at this team, like I think maybe the most outside of Steel is like maybe the biggest notable thing is that Wardell is a really good player. Like he looks really fucking good as a main op, and that kind of came out of nowhere. Like he was considered just like more or less an onliner, and he's turned it on in like a huge way.
I don't know what has Wardell done anything besides this, like on land besides this? Like has he been like showing improvement? 'Cause like I haven't been keeping up with him at
What was
all.
that last tournament he was at? I'm trying to remember what it was. It might have been. He was at a tournament recently where he was very good as well. Like he just looks like hands down like a really good player. What was it? I was grabbing it.
Well, I mean, NA desperately needs oppers, so maybe this is a good sign for the scene in general. It's like their most notable opper is just like he's basically like the Jay Cutler of fucking CS:GO.
Yeah, that Zotac Cup he was really good at, even though it's like not the greatest opposition. Like when they beat OpTic in a best of three, King win. They played as well. Did they beat? No, they lost to Kinguin, but he was really good throughout that LAN.
Yeah, I'd say that's a good sign for NACS that there's at least somebody giving the big green gun hope.
And it's really concerning and it's really cool for Steel almost because he's gotten stuff out of a bunch of players who all have potentially like or who are all flawed or have potential downsides. Like Wardell coming in, huge onliner, never shown it on land. Subrosa, never shown it on land. Definitely showed something on land, but it wasn't skill.
Definitely showed the
Kusta,
gear.
Kusta, a player who has had like huge mental issues in the past, like absolutely not been able to get it going, even though he has like a shitload of talent and still seemingly got them to a really high level. And then Crystal is just like he is just straight up a shit player. And he's gonna be out of this team soon, but still managed to make him work in it.
I'm really glad that I'm really glad that Steel like didn't just quit like Days did. Because Days just like straight up quit and went into some fucking like weird crypto shit or something. I don't know how Days
Yeah,
still makes money.
I don't think I want to know how Days makes money nowadays, but he's yeah, Days just like went emo as fuck and got into like crypto and then like now he's in some like shit
Bodybuilding.
stream team where he screams at Summit all the time and like
Yeah,
he's
I'm
just like he's just like right back to like chaos, but yeah,
Steel.
Steel looks to have made the most of like a really rough situation and he's like right now he's looking like such a fucking he's looking like such a baller right now.
Yeah, it's just a shame that Gaben's a big ol' asshole. Won't give him a shot.
Yeah, it's a real shame how unreasonable it is. Like it's in what world, like in what world can you do like can you ban a guy forever?
I don't know if he's like OJ Simpson and he like kills his ex-wife.
Yeah, this what he did was just as bad to be fair.
That's true. He
Those
killed the
like
hopes and
3 Asimovs or whatever he got
yeah, very equivalent to a double murder that you just straight up get away with.
that like how much is a person's life worth about 3 Asimovs?
No, about 1.5 because he killed 2 people.
Oh, that's true.
How much a
Allegedly.
how much a dollar really costs, Steel? But let's go to the other NA team that was here and was I'd say fell pretty flat. NRG.
Dude, the thing I tweeted with this team is like when I can't remember what match it was that they lost, but it was like I think it was when they lost to Nip initially, where it's like how many mulligans does this team get before we start to say they have a huge mental issues, you know?
I think it was after they got knocked out by Navi that you tweeted that.
Yeah, something like because it was like it might have been
Cause
on the same day, but I don't know. But to me, like I guess Nip was in good form and they lost to Navi, but they had Nip on the ropes at one point. Like they were up something ridiculous. Like wasn't it like 13-5 or like 13-6 or 7 or something like that. And they threw the fucking map on they're on T side of train. Like to me, like I they're past the point where they're like a young upcoming team and you're like, oh, sometimes that happens. Like at this point I think you have to legitimately criticize them and say this isn't fucking good enough.
well, Daps can just get on the Peakers Advantage podcast super high and explain why he lost, and then everyone will be like, "Oh, Daps,
Dude.
you lovable scamp."
Dude, I've been trying to like how there's the SK excuses meme which is now ruined because they moved to MIBR. There's some I don't know how you put excuses into NRG, but what he does is he like gets on there like blazed out of his mind, just like head tilted at like 45 degrees back and just goes like, it's not an excuse, but the jet lag was a real pain. And, we hadn't played that team before. And the pressure was high because when you're the best team at the minor qualifier and you're expected to win, there's more pressure on you, and that really sucks. It's the worst. It's like, what really sucks is going
Losing
to
a
the event
best.
and playing against a team who have significantly more talent and significantly more experience and just are a fucking better team than you. It's way better to be NRG than fucking E United at the minor. I don't care what pressure you had on you. You should have fucking aced that qualifier. Like, and then he keeps saying it's not an excuse. And like, I really like Daps. I think he's been criminally underrated for a long time and never got his chance. But he's kind of blowing it with this team right now. This is the third event where they've underwhelmed in a row. Third LAN in a row. Like, I'm worried because, like I was saying, uh, how sure is Daps that like one of these stars isn't gonna like turn tail on him after the major?
Oh, I guarantee it's gonna happen. Like Cloud9's gonna be just awful at the major, and they're not even like, huh, let's spend some money here, guys. Let's get some fresh blood in here because I don't think Sticko's gonna stick around.
Because they have like three really good stars on this team, like three fantastic prospects who could all like be that sort of Twist story where they might even be more ready than Twist was. Probably, yeah. I'd say they're more ready. I don't know if they'll be as good as him, but they're more fully formed players than Twist was when he went to Team Liquid.
Yeah, I don't think that they'll be as good as Twist like starting off, but they're definitely more complete players because they've been playing at a higher level for longer,
Mm-hmm.
at
Because
least
like
before he got his shot.
Ethan Breeze and Cirque, I love those players, and that's why it pisses me off that they're not doing anything with them.
Yeah, I wonder like it all depends on when that Shack money's gonna run out for Daps. And I mean for him he's got to be worried about the pressure of just like absolutely blowing it with this shit. Never mind blowing it at the minor qualifier.
No, oh, I've figured out though. You know how you get the Shack money to never run out though? Is what like Cloud9 has to do is go get funding from Chuck and make a
Mm,
play at the tournaments so that out of just pure competitive spirit Shaq starts investing more and more money into NRG and taking a vested interest, and that's how we end up with Coach Shaq,
dude,
which is the best timeline.
imagine Coach Shaq. Oh, you just gotta get him down in the low post. Shaq does Counter Strike. Oh, just hit your shots, boys.
Yeah, just they're always like they're always just like buying shotguns and shit, like just refusing to take any long shots.
Trying to run a triangle offense of some kind. Oh man. But yeah, NRG. Where do you go from here? And another team that has to figure out where the fuck to go from here, OpTic, because they haven't been doing so hot. I gotta say, they've been really underwhelming to me, especially considering the fucking talent that they have in this team.
Dude, Snappy kind of made like the 1000 IQ play with this team by like hiding his seeming incompetency by never qualifying for any lands. So like no one knew how bad he was or how bad this team was because they never made it to any lands initially. But but I'm really frustrated by this team because yeah, Config and Yugi are absolutely fantastic stars, and this team just looks like garbage.
Like
I'd
there was a really good video that Thorin put out on Snappy that postulates a really interesting theory. So when Snappy was finally making a name for himself in heroic, you'll never guess who his secondary caller by all accounts was. Oh, it just happens to be Glaive, the best in-game leader like the game has probably ever seen. Oh, that's interesting. That's very interesting.
yeah, that makes him look like, since like the better Glaive gets, the more that it reflects poorly on Snappy, especially because I think there are a lot of in-game leaders who can do some. It's hard to be an in-game leader at the top level, and it's also very hard to be like a coach or an in-game leader at a lower level and get like the most out of a limited set of players. But oddly, I think we have a lot of in-game leaders who are a lot better at getting uh good production out of like tier 2, tier 3 players, but as soon as you hand them some genuine like tier 1 talents, they really struggle. And that's where I'm a bit worried for them, because I know that Yugi in the past has had attitude and like personality issues, and Config definitely has, and that worries me a little bit. Though people like reportedly say Config's like one of the best teammates they've ever played with, when because he like really goes for it and tries and all that sort of thing. But I'm worried that he's struggling to deal with the personalities on this team, because it's been like what 4 or 5 months, and they've shown like not even a little bit, absolutely nothing.
Oh
Like they
yeah.
beat Fnatic in a best of one at this LAN, but Fnatic were pretty bad at this LAN. Then they got absolutely obliterated by FaZe, and then they lost to Heroic, who is a team that they should be beating easily.
Oh yeah, the talent disparity between OpTic and Heroic is the Grand Canyon, and somehow Heroic managed to jump it in like an Evil Knievel rocket car.
Yeah, no, that works. but but I like, I mean, I'm saying the major's the last hurrah for this team. Like I'm out on this team if they don't make it out the major qualifier. Like I'm a million percent out. Whereas I'm like 90% out on this team right now.
I mean, good. I don't want to see Config and Yugi like waste their potential on a team with an in-game leader who won't like take the reins and actually like develop a system around them.
Though on the bright side, this does mean that Project MSL can get some real boosts in the future potentially, because he can maybe get his hands on Yugi.
Hmm.
And so
And
like
not
if
off
his
again.
AWPing, let's say let's say his AWPing drops off. Let's
Hmm.
say maybe you kick one of these fucking bombs and you get Yugi in. Eh?
Eh?
Very nice.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I could never see MSL's opping ever dropping off. We definitely didn't talk about that in the first part of this podcast.
No, let's look, like I was saying for my predictions, what's gonna happen is the gracious MSL will take a step back and allow his first-hand man AZ to pick up the MVP. He will do the same for the greater good of Denmark, and he will step back into a supportive role and allow Yugi to pick up the AWP.
A benevolent god, truly.
Yeah, he is a kind lord, our MSL.
All right. Do you have any
Blessed be his name.
do you have any closing thoughts on OpTic?
Fuck him.
Whack.
What's that?
Speaking of teams that are whack
What's
and
that Dave Chappelle bit that like why? Because fuck him. That's why.
oh god,
On
the
to the
fuck
next team.
the copy store like training video.
Yeah.
Oh man. Dave Chappelle, why please come back.
For his specials have been fantastic so far.
That's true.
So like four.
I need to watch some of them. I think I only watched like one or two.
Man, Mad Take, like honestly, they're as good as his old ones. I don't give a fuck.
All
But
right.
they're about same tier, at least.
Do you want to end cap off the Dreamhack Stockholm preview? Analysis of the Tyloo, or do you just want to get into the major stuff?
I'd have some stuff with Tyloo, just quickly. Like, I'm kind of tired of this team. Because it seems like they're kind of receding back into just like being like like Counter Strike's hard. Let's just YOLO into sites and do like crazy shit. And they can technically play Mirage at a high level because they can like win it against really really good teams. But I think a lot of that is just them doing like fucking wild shit, and that's my big problem with them. like I don't think they can play any map to that standard, and I think that they're losing that little bit of like genuinely good CS that they had for a while there. Like as well as so if I'm fixing this team, I think you need to bring in an in-game leader because Bentet is too fucking good to be stuck doing like an in-game leader role because I think it is taking away from his ability to thrive as an individual. And you do have some really good talent and really good pieces in this team, but the best move for me is like if you can bring in an in-game leader who can make them play actual professional tier CS, you could do some really good shit with them. But I'm kind of just tired of what they are right now.
So we're officially a podcast that's out on Tyloo, the one trick ponies of China.
Kinda, it's just because they showed some other tricks and they went back to like just like that. What's that fucking bit from extras is like say the thing, and they just like they're like all right we'll do it, and they just run through the fucking all your like mirage smokes and get like 3 entries. It's like yay.
I've actually
Like
never.
that's Tyloo for me. Like I'm done.
I think I've seen like 5 minutes of extras.
Yeah, it's all right.
I mean, it's an interesting concept for a show. You just like take the people that like no one pays attention to.
Yeah, it's an interesting story to tell. Like Ricky Gervais's character is pretty hilarious in it because
Is is he the
he's an
extra who wants
absolute
to be the?
mess.
Is he
But
like the extra who's like trying to like get attention brought to himself?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's similar to that where he's like it's kind of similar to The Office in like some way where he is like this like crazy narcissist who like wants attention, is like kind of treats everyone like shit or whatever.
David
That's the other
Bright's if he
good
got into
concept
acting.
is that they do that thing where they bring on like they have these different like a different celebrity every week, and the characters they play are great because there's something about seeing like a celebrity play like an asshole or like a really weird role or whatever. But no, yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, fuck Tyloo as well. The again like similar to OpTic, the major is kind of their last. For me, it's like the last chance to show something good.
Speaking of the major, let's talk about some of the teams that are going to the major. We're gonna discuss three categories of teams that we think we can kind of separate the chaff out of. The first one is the contenders, teams that we think have a chance to win this major. So the first one is obviously Astralis. Like if you don't think Astralis can win this major, you're on crack, or you haven't been watching Counter Strike for the past 9 months, because
Or
that's
both,
simple. Or both. I'd hope
preferably.
I'd hope both for your sake if you think they can't win this major. But obviously number one team in the world, like undisputedly.
I don't know, playing the best CS we've maybe ever seen. Like I think it's almost like not a ton to say about them. Like they're the hot favorites. I think they'll bounce back from this event here. As well as weirdly enough, it might have been like a bigger issue if they had their like rustiness from the player break and North's resurgence like sprung upon them at the major. It's a more of an issue, whereas I think they're probably more prepared now. And I guess to some degree, like MSL, like probably poked some holes in their defense that they can deal with now.
Yeah, I hope
But
they
yeah, I again like I'm not really worried about this team right now. Like I think they're gonna win the major like hands down.
like they're
But
they're they're an
like it
easy
is
lock
definitely a
for
major.
top
Like we get a
four.
lot of upsets. Anything can happen. But yeah, oh yeah, they're a lock for top four. Like I don't remember the last time that they didn't get top four, and I honestly don't remember the last time they lost to a team who didn't then win the tournament. Like all three times that they've lost events in this it was very close series where they lost to in the final twice and once to the in the semi to a team who then went on and won the event. And all those teams were in like red hot, like absolute peak of their existence. Like everything goes right. Like what it takes to beat Astralis is not something you can expect from a team.
No, and that's why they should be like the heaviest favorites at any major in Counter Strike history. Like this, they really should win this major.
Yeah, it's like it's their major to throw away almost.
let's talk about. All right, the next contender that we have up is Team Liquid, a team that didn't attend Stockholm. So we kind of have no idea what they're gonna look like after any changes they might have made at the player break. Like we're just gonna see a Team Liquid team that's fresh off, hopefully, a very productive like, player break, watching these demos, especially from Stockholm, because like they might be like North and just come out and surprise a bunch of people with new stuff.
So they're straight up my number two to win the major. Like I'll just say, like I think Team Liquid are like we're obviously big fans of that team. As anyone who's like talked to us about literally anything in the last like I don't know how many months would know.
Probably like
Like we're
four.
huge fans of this team. Yeah, like that's true. Like I consider them they don't unfortunately they just don't have the events to put to their name yet, but I think they're the second best team in the world in terms of how good they are at Counter-Strike, like not necessarily their placements. Like they have the firepower, they have the system. I think they've mentally sorted themselves out. Their biggest hump has just been getting past Astralis, which maybe they've figured out something in the player break, but the problem is like I don't think they can get past Astralis. Like that's my
No.
one issue with that team. I think they beat anyone else in the scene.
Yeah, I agree. Like the problem is they just can't beat Astralis. And like for at least my mentality's sake, I hope they don't because I want this era to be just cemented in stone, no debates. And I don't know. I just hope they make the final and lose. That's my take on Team Liquid, because like
That's true.
they deserve to fucking they deserve to like at least get some fucking recognition for all the work that they put in, all the
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
the high like the high level of play that they've achieved. Because if like FaZe
I've
just like
never seen a team be this good and win so little.
will win nothing, that's the problem.
Yeah, that's true.
Like are Astralis going to ESL in New York, or are they skipping that?
They're not. I'm pretty sure. So
Ooh,
that's the one.
dude,
That's the
Team Liquid.
fucking event you put everything into if you're Team Liquid because this is where you get your trophy.
God, I hope they fucking win on American soil too. Like that'd be fucking so cool. That crowd would be going nuts.
Yeah, I think the American crowds like historically they don't get the credit for how good they are. Like they're fun and they're pretty they support their teams pretty well, but also they're very good when there's no American teams. Like they're usually split pretty evenly and like cheering for whatever. Like I like American crowds a lot. I hope they get to see Team Liquid
Yeah,
take that trophy.
that major final crowd in Atlanta last year was fucking sick.
Oh yeah, it was really like I saw people complaining about so one this is a problem we have in like esports in general, but particularly in CS is people complain about the crowds without realizing that no, it's probably just the crowds aren't mic'd super well because like we were there and it was really good.
Yeah, that was a great atmosphere. All right, like the next two teams on this contender lists are kind of like they're kind of just honestly placeholder teams. Like they have the skill to do it, but I don't think they'll be like hit the right form to do it, or they're just not built for it. Like FaZe and Navi.
Yeah, this segment is like the people consider you really good, I guess, so we're gonna put you here. Like FaZe, like these are both teams where it's like they have players that if they go absolutely nuclear, they can do it. But right now, there we have huge issues with them. Like FaZe right now, Nico's in absolute god form. Like Guardian's bouncing back. You've got some reasonably promising performances from Olaf, but I just I don't see them going because deep because it seems like they just have a lot of trouble with a lot of teams in this scene right now.
Yeah, like another thing is like FaZe aren't I guess being greater than the sum of their parts. Like
Yeah,
they can't get more effect out of themselves as a team rather than
they're
just
kind of playing
as
like a dead team.
yeah. And like not a dead team in a good way where they just like play super loose. They're like playing in a dead team where they're like just super bored.
Yeah, like Nico, I think Nico is very frustrated because he's playing like some unbelievable form right now,
I wouldn't blame
and it's
him.
just like it's absolutely going to waste.
I really wouldn't blame him for that. Like he's been fucking putting his fucking heart into this team. Well, they've been just like dragging their feet.
I always joke about that, like you if you don't win, you just didn't want it enough. But like Nico wants it more than anyone on this team. Like so it's probably him and Carrigan are the two with the insane drive on this team. Because I think like Rain has never grabbed me as like that super determined dude. Like though, I'm not like saying he's lazy or anything. Like Olaf's already been there and done it. Guardian's had his mind fucking broken by the major system. Like I
And
think
also
Carrigan.
marriage.
Yeah, that's true. He took the coward's way out.
That's how you get.
Uh,
That's he took the coward's way out for getting a ring. That pussy.
yes. But I think Nico and Carrigan got the drive, but yeah, just I don't know if this team's gonna be as motivated as they probably should be.
And then obviously Navi are just like a deeply flawed team that are wasting some of the best Counter Strike we've ever seen individually.
Yeah.
And like
I don't
they
think we. I don't think. I just want to say about FaZe. I don't think we mentioned it last time, but a move I would have loved is if they just booted Robin because I don't get what the fuck Robin does. He's been on this team like longer than anyone besides Rain, and I don't think anyone still knows what the fuck he does. And what if they? Because obviously he's good friends with Nico. What if they got Yanko
yeah,
instead of him going MIBR?
I
I would
was
have fucking
thinking
loved
that.
that.
That would have been pretty cool because
'Cause he's
obviously
perfect for them.
yeah, like he wants to play like loose into the team's strengths. He obviously like loves the shit out of Nico and he should. But like
Yeah,
obviously
Nico got him some good fucking results over the years.
but like you saw what he did with MIBR, a team again with like really decorated players who just like hit a mental wall. And I think that's honestly where this FaZe team is headed. Like
Yeah.
I think they're headed down to like I don't know if the results will be as low because I can't see I like Nico doesn't necessarily need a system as much as Cold Zero, so he'll always be there. But I like they
Yeah.
might be headed down to where MIBR just were, like in that thing where they're like, constantly like underperforming to the names where they have.
Yeah, I agree. Like you could give Nico like 3 paper clips and a jar of jelly beans or whatever for teammates, and he would still like get
Mouse
that fucking
Sports
like
did
one
just
like
that.
nearly one ADR. Yeah,
Mouse
no, they
Sports
gave
did
him
just
worse,
that.
dude. Like
Gave him like
he
pocket lints.
wishes he had paper clips instead of like Spiddy and Dennis on that team. Because at least paper clips shut the fuck up when I'm trying to play. Like, but but yeah, he's like almost guaranteed frags and has been for the last couple events. And I think yeah, the more and more like I've joked about being like, nah, fuck him in the past, but like I think I'm on the same page that you've been now for a while where it's like you just want to see just get Nico a major. Like he deserves one. He's one of the biggest talents we've ever seen. And it sucks that right now it's looking like it's gonna be a while before he has a shot at a major.
It's not
I
just
mean,
that
a lot can change before the next major, but still.
he's one of the biggest talents we've ever seen. He's like one of the most hardworking and passionate talents we've ever seen in the scene.
Oh,
Like you
absolutely.
can't help but root for the guy, and like it was so fucking sad to see that he was the guy who really let FaZe down in that grand final. Because like I really would have wanted to blame anyone else but him.
Yeah, it sucks because like he's been through the fucking the gauntlet of like coming up as a CS player in a scene that doesn't have like a big national team. Like he played for a fucking shit international roster and hard carried that team. He earned his way onto a superstar team, and yeah, he did in that major final, but he didn't like shy away. Like he continued being fucking insane, and he was like the driving force behind them winning a lot of events. Like he had Guardian eventually as his like closer guy, but he was still the heart of that team, and he like always has been since he joined FaZe.
Transferring off one of the greatest talents to ever play the game, another greatest talent to ever play the game. Like I don't.
Edward.
Yes, Edward, obviously the pistol god of 1.6,
Yeah,
but
remember that? Haha, remember that clip on
on Mill.
I forgot what the map's called. Yeah,
I,
Mill. Pretty good. They're gonna win the major. All right, next team.
all right, yeah, next team. But no, seriously, like I don't. There's no way that Navi can win the major. There's really no way. Like if they struggle to get past Ghost, if they just get fucking banged out by North, a North with MSL opping, like there's no way that you can reasonably expect Navi to win this major. And yet in the back of your mind it's like, oh, Simple and Electronic could still go off. But like at Stockholm they
Yeah.
were, and they still didn't do anything.
Two top. Yeah, it's this is why I fucking hate ZEUS right now. This is why I have so much like disdain in my heart for that man. It's because they have two top 5 players, the number one in the world, like the undisputed number one in the world, and Electronic, who's probably like, I don't know, like 4 or 5. And they're not winning. They're not even close to winning events right now. Like I said on previous shows, like their best run was like it was kind of bullshit because it wasn't 3 events in a row. It was one legit event, and then a couple ones that are just kind of like, yeah, I guess you won. Especially that like Asian tournament where there was like fuck all players there. But uh, point being is like the other parts of this team are just so lackluster, and the system they play is just not good enough. Like I just, if in a reasonable world, there's no chance they can win this major, but I don't think Simple really cares what kind of world he lives in.
Listen, ZEUS has already won a major, like an unreasonable fucking major. Like if it happens again, we're ending the podcast. Like it's just that simple. I
Yeah,
can't
we're done.
I
We're
can't
done if Zeus gets another one somehow.
he can't keep getting away with this.
Despite being like an absolute dildo, like a stripy dildo, like there's fucking tattoos, man. Like
Ugh.
if he gets another major, just like absolute, because the problem here is like if Zeus wins that major, he is going to be like that guy at the end of like at the end of Goldeneye, where he just stands up and just goes like, "I am invincible!" Like he can't stop winning majors no matter what he does.
like if
Like if he wins the major, I'm gonna start understanding why he does random bullshit because he's gonna just be like, what's the most stupid shit I can do with this team and still win like big tournaments? Because it would make no sense. He would be testing. He would be like testing his own hot hand as a caller. He will start like calling like five-man site stacks like every third round and shit just to see what happens.
if I lose, it's meant to be. But if I win, oh man, I'm gonna keep doing it. I'm gonna keep rolling these dice.
But yeah, like if this team wins, I'm out on Counter Strike.
All right. Now that we finished with
I'm going
contender,
Amish if they win.
well, I mean, you're already growing the beard.
That's true. And by that we don't mean like the Vince thing where Vince is like, who was it, like QB Fires, like if they make the playoffs, I'm gonna eat a boot. And then like that happened, and he took it super serious. It wasn't just like fuck off, I'm not eating a boot. Like he went through all that like shit and did like all those different challenges and stuff, and still gets wrecked for it. And he still brings it up. It's like, no, you just gotta tell people to fuck off, then never mention it again. Like, dude.
I don't know. I'm really expecting you to move to Pennsylvania if Zeus hoists that trophy. All right. Now that we finished up the 4 contenders, teams that could, I guess, maybe feasibly win the major, let's talk about teams that are low key pretty good. Starting off with the team that just won Stockholm, North. Like, let's hope that North can continue the form that they were on at Stockholm and at least make some noise at this at the major. Because are
Yeah, I'd
are
love
they
to see them make like top 4 if they
are
could do it.
yeah are they in the legend spot or not? I don't think they are.
No, they're in the beginner stage, I think.
Oh
Yeah,
oh man.
yeah, they are.
Fuck, I hope they get out of that gauntlet. Like, I could totally. It'd be really hard pressed for me to imagine North getting bounced out of that because they are really such a solid team.
Yeah, there's a bunch of like really like it's a really fucking rough one because only 8 what is it? 8 teams get through, and you've got Astralis, Liquid, and North in there, which immediately 3 of those spots are taken. Um, I don't think there's any way either of those teams or any of those teams miss out on this, especially because they're all probably going to go 1-0 immediately. But yeah, I think North, like even like I was like really fucking kind of pissed off that they won Stockholm because my hot take for this show was gonna be they're the dark horse to win the major because this is a team I've been waiting for them to click for a while, and this it's after the player break. MSL's been able to break it down, get it all together. Like they're gonna head into this tournament with their fucking hopes high, their new player who's gonna fucking activate them, and they're gonna fucking all come together and have this sick fucking event. They're gonna make a deep run. Maybe, like, God knows, maybe somehow they can win it. They got a weird matchup with Astralis because it's regional, blah blah blah. They're my dark horse, and then they win Stockholm, and so like I can't call that anymore.
Yeah, and now like every team's just gonna scout the ever living shit out of them, so they're gonna get
They
hard
ruined my
countered
whole.
by winning
I
a
still think
tournament.
they make playoffs at the major, but yeah, winning it's going to be very hard for them considering how many people are going to be all over their demos now.
My
Like, but they can't be mad. Like they had everything go right. They took like a genuine like tier 1 event.
yeah, like I don't think North can complain much. Like all they really have to do is like secure top 8, get a legend spot, and I think it's pretty successful. Like they've had a pretty successful like month of September.
Just keep yourself at like a high enough level that you can then go and poach a bunch of OpTic players when that team all like blows up like we know it's going to.
Yeah, when they like fail to get out of groups and they lose to like one of the shitty CIS minor teams. All right, the next team up is Mouse Sports.
I mean, they're talented enough to do some damage, but are they gonna? Maybe. Like,
Maybe
I
like
mean,
it,
they beat FaZe, like, so I gotta give them
yeah,
some credit. Like, it's just we're so, I think we're just so
wary, I
like the
guess.
feeling when you think about mouse sports is so just like, ugh.
I mean, I guess they'll do well enough. Like in an ideal world, they'd make top 8, but like who the fuck knows what teams are gonna make it out of the qualifier?
They should be 100% making top 8 with like a good chance at top 4, and there's a good chance that they go out in groups, honestly,
Yeah,
because you can't count on this team a lot of the time. Like, I don't think I can. Well, I mean, honestly, I think they are going to make playoffs, definitely. I don't really think they can reliably beat top teams right now. Like, I don't know if they can. I'd like to see them play FaZe again because I think that they owe us a banger series.
well,
That's my hope for them. They get FaZe in the series. That's all I want out of them in this tournament.
it's just gonna be a boring 2-1 with it going FaZe's way this time, just to fuck
Yeah,
with
because
us.
they gave us a shit series. Like, that series should have been so fucking hype. Like, that should have been an absolute brawl at Stockholm, and it just wasn't. But yeah, they've got enough like very very good pieces that they could be a dark horse. They could maybe make that run. But yeah, I'm not super like big on that.
All right, the next team, the final team in this category is MIBR. Um, Honestly, I'm kind of excited for MIBR because they've been at majors before. They know what the fuck to do, and they look like they're actually motivated again. So like
Been
they,
there and done that.
yeah, like I hate the old cliche of like, oh, they're not too big for this moment, but like they're really not. Like, when was the last time, legitimately, when was the last time they didn't make top 4 in a major?
Yeah, it's only been like the times when they had stand-ins, pretty much.
Like even then with fucking Fox, they made top 4 at that major. Like they made top 4
Oh
at the,
yeah, you're right. They
yeah,
did. They
they've made,
made, yeah, with against they lost to, and they really could have beaten Virtus Pro. Honestly,
yeah.
like that. What they weren't that far off. Like they nearly made the final.
I think I was
Would have
trying to
been
get
pretty
Astra-
fucking
I think
insane.
I was trying to get Astralis autographs, and they were playing that final quarterfinal. But like actually, like they didn't make top 4 at Krakow because Astralis like banged him out in the quarter, in the quarters, which is fucked up.
Yeah,
But like
they
yeah, other than
deserve
that, other
better
than
than
that,
that.
other than that, ever since they were
Actually, no, fuck it.
Luminosity,
We deserved better than that series being in the quarters.
yeah, god damn it, that should have been the final. Astralis should have won that major. Fuck the haters. But again, like this team like doesn't really underperform at majors. Like they show up, they're pretty much a lock for like top 8 for definitely. Like with this new form, they should probably make top 8 because I think the scene's kind of weak right now.
Yeah, it's like I think that they should be able to make a good run here. Like Tarek and Colzer is a very exciting duo for me. I want to see them make a run. Like I think Yanko's like very clearly improved them already. Like they're playing the best CS they've played since they added these Americans, I think.
I mean, easily. It's like once Tarek joined, like they were just a hot mess.
Mm. And yeah, you got to say they're a dark horse because they have so much talent. Like they can potentially do it. Like,
Yeah,
because if everything clicks for them, they can be like they can beat anyone on their day. It's just very unlikely that they get to that level, especially against teams like Astralis or Team Liquid.
especially since like they just started this new roster up, I guess.
Yeah, though with a player break under their belt, that's probably helped them out a fair bit.
That's true. All right, the last segment of teams that we're going to talk about are just other interesting teams. The the first one, G2. Now you might say, "Whoa, why didn't you guys put them in the low key pretty good section?" Well, probably because we have no idea what the fuck to expect from them right now. Like we don't know if they're just going to they're going to fall flat out of the player break or if they're going to come out looking really sharp. Like we just don't know.
This team might be absolute garbage, or they might
Make top
honestly
four.
like, yeah, they might make top four. It's very difficult to say, especially because they lost an online best of three qualifier for Epicenter yesterday to fucking Windigo, the Bulgarian team. Like they got like absolutely dicked on by this guy Bobble. Like I don't know. I guess it is French players online. They don't really give a shit, but that's pretty concerning to to me that they couldn't get past this like team that like no one's given a shit about for like 3 years. But in terms of G2's chances at this, you just there it is a team where I think Existence can do some magic because he has some really good pieces here. You just wonder about the firepower.
Yeah, I don't
Because
like.
it's not just that like do they have enough, because I think they do. It's about like getting Shocks online again. Like I'm worried. Like I don't know if Shocks is ready yet because he hasn't like consistently clicked yet. He had that one event out of like three that he was very solid at, but he hasn't. I didn't even like do super well at that event.
Yeah,
But
he
he
didn't.
just he hasn't shown what we're hoping for out of him. But they're at least going to be an exciting team because it's hard to not be exciting without Kenny and when you have Kenny and Shocks. So
Yeah, like we'll obviously be watching all their games probably live.
and I mean oh, I can't remember if it was on an episode or not, but we have said that we will get cameras and do a live show if they make top four in celebration. That's the only incentive G2 have to win, really.
Do you even have a webcam?
I don't.
Ugh, that makes things a little difficult, I'd say.
That's fine. I will buy one because I probably should have one. It's 2018. I should own one.
And webcams stink. Don't use them. They
Yeah, that's
just
fair.
they just spy on you when you're walking around your room naked. It's fucked up.
Yeah, you say that like I don't want it, dude.
Oh, you just want those guys in the NSA office or the NSA equivalent of Australia, I guess, just peeping around, checking out the package.
They can't, dude. Like they have like point 0.5 down internet. They can't even watch a video stream.
I mean, the joke is really on the NSA because I'd need a microscope to see my dick. But
Damn, dude. The
listen,
old the old like the old like what is it? Suicide by words.
I've been very open about my incredibly small penis size, but you know what? It's great. The self-deprecating humor is my specialty, and someone's got to do it. But moving on from my penis to the next team on this interesting list, Big. Ever since their run at Cologne, like we've just been kind of we haven't they've been kind of quiet, mainly because they haven't been attending any events. But who knows? What can they do at this major?
I think I just want to say like I think they will make it out of the group, like the not group,
The
the
challenger stage or
qualifier
whatever.
thing. It depends on their matchups hugely what they do in the group stage, but I think they're 100% going to make it out because this is a team that I think very much benefit from time off. Like a lot of teams, it's very hard to say, but God B is like genuinely one of the best in-game leaders in the scene, and he has some like very notable talent on this team. Like I think he's going to have figured out some absolute fuck shit for this qualifying stage that'll get them through. Where they go from that is hard to say, but that Cologne run was pretty promising. So I think he's got the firepower, and I think they've got the system, and like probably like a few tricks that'll pretty much guarantee that they make it out of that qualifying stage.
All right, let's talk about a couple teams that we didn't talk about uh, who attended Stockholm, but we didn't feel like were interesting in Stockholm. Fnatic, the new old guys club of Sweden, taking over from NIP.
Because you almost feel like they're a dark horse. Like maybe if they weren't so awful at this event that just passed, they would be. And I mean, honestly, their best player at Stockholm was probably Draken, which is I don't know if that's a I guess you could consider it a positive because you expect like JW and Crims to bounce back because they've been pretty consistently like very solid for a while now. And if you have those three guys, like those are your three like real big star talents on this team that you want going off because I don't think you can count on Existent Flusher right now.
Timeout, buddy.
But
Did you know that Flush is the highest rated player at the majors all time?
oh god, I hate whenever
Dude,
that stat comes out on Reddit and it's like they talk about him like the man who turns up when it really matters. It's like, oh please, come on. Like
listen, we are going to start a dialogue.
it isn't just that he's won three, so he's always gonna have good, or he's gonna have like somewhat inflated stats at all of them. And he is like he's obviously a legendary player, but
Top
I
10 all
don't think he
time,
cares
some would
anymore.
say.
Though to be fair, I will say Flusha seems to have this thing where he's really fucking good at or does like a significantly better at events where the like are the big events or ones that are like if the event has a reason to make him give a shit, he's usually significantly better, and because it is the major, we might see a little more out of him. So like I don't know, I do like this team a fair bit. It's just they were very bad at Stockholm, and that kind of like pulled me out a bit because it's not even just like it's after the play break. They looked really lost at times.
But what are your reasonable expectations for Fnatic here? Because
I mean,
where are they
I
starting
still
off?
think
Are
you
they
can
still in
kind of
the?
put them as dark horse.
Did they make top eight at the last major?
I'm pretty sure they did. Yeah, they're a legend.
Mm, I don't know if they'll make top eight this time around. Like they could,
I
just
think
because
I
they
think they'll make playoffs.
really. Hmm. I don't.
Ah, actually, this is actually really wrong. It
Yeah, it's
really depends
tough.
on the matchups they get in the Swiss system. Because if I think it was like your standard like four group system, they probably would because they'd end up in a team like in a group with like a one of the really good teams in them, and I think they'd be able to bang out like whoever the fuck was below them.
Like Hellraisers maybe or something.
Yeah, though I rate Hellraisers really highly with Woxic to be fair, but
Well, the good news is we're talking about them right now.
yeah,
Hellraisers,
let's go
baby.
straight on to them honestly. Like
Yeah.
yeah, Fnatic could do it. I think there's a good chance they make playoffs depending on who they draw, but yeah, I don't know. Stockholm's got me a little worried, but yeah, Hellraisers.
Yeah, we didn't
Guess
talk
we
about.
start with the really good news. They got Woxic definitely coming to the major.
Yeah, the reason we didn't talk about Hellraisers at Stockholm was because like Woxic didn't play like any of their games, and like as like the best player on their team by far, like why the hell would we talk about Hellraisers otherwise?
Yeah, I think Woxic he might be the best Counter Strike player who's not on like a really good who's not on like a really good team. Like I think he's absolutely fucking fantastic. Like one of the best like top 5 AWPer in the world hands down. But I think this is a team that could make like a really deep run potentially. It's I think it's all on like how good Woxic and Issa are, and how not bad Dead Fox can be, because I'm
That's a
I'm so sick of Dead Fox in this team. Like he's just garbage. And I remember because I think Sam Delorme has made arguments for Dead Fox like having a decent role in the past, but it's like surely you can get someone who can play his role and also shoot people at the same time because he only does one of those things.
I don't know, man. That's multitasking. That's hard. Like how many players in the scene can multitask nowadays?
Maybe simple,
Yeah,
maybe.
that's it. Really. Maybe we're just asking too much of Dead Fox here to be, decent at the game he plays. as a professional.
Yeah, maybe it's time we give him a break, as we are known to give breaks to bad players.
Yeah, we're the most kind and forgiving podcast in the scene.
Hey there, Faflaren, unretire bitch.
And there you go. That was our compliment for the day. Telling Fiflaren to unretire. Well, actually, he is unretired because he's in the old guys club or crew.
Oh yeah, next major, I guess.
Yeah, one day we'll see Lurpus and Sean Gares lift that trophy. I really wish Cloud9 didn't win that major, just and then old guys crew did, just so I could see Sean lift the trophy in front of Cloud9. That would have been fun.
Yeah, I kind of want Sean to get like his reward for just being like I like the way that I always loved the way he exited Cloud9, where he was just like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. Like, but wait, it's like, no, I'm done. I'm out. Like, no more.
I can't
I'm
put up.
not playing with Jordan anymore.
And oh man, he really chose a bad team to step into if he wants to stick by that.
To be fair, Freakazoid's probably real fun.
That's true.
I like Freakazoid. He seems like he would be a good guy to hang out with.
Yeah, just slam a couple brews with Freakazoid. Hell yeah. Maybe he'll do that thing that Pasha did, where he'll just like when he's super drunk, he'll just like lift a car.
Yeah. To be fair, I always feel like he got a bit of a hard rap for the simple thing, because like
Why you fucking
people
bully
like,
me?
and it's another thing as well where like I was saying before, with these absolute fucking stupid NA nerds who like take it aside in some like fucking controversy where they're super pro Stewie because they're like, that could be me, but they saw these that Freakazoid saying mean things to Simple, and they're like, I'm having flashbacks to like 3 hours ago when my lunch money was taken. And like they get him, it's like fucking get him, like fucking get Cloud9 Jack on the phone, get him out of this fucking team. And it's
Send
like,
him to
do you
bullying.
guys remember literally like every fucking FPL or rank S match for the last like fucking 3 months? Simple was a cunt to everyone. He was like shit talking a bunch of the Cloud9 players or
And that
something.
was the
Like
best part.
Freak was trying to defend his teammates, and everyone was like, "You bitch!" Like bully, blah blah blah, and Simple got off scot free. Like,
Dude, that's the best part. Like old Simple and FPL got off scot free in the community. Like people just forget that he was just absolutely like the biggest dick. Like there's clips of it still floating around. They have him just being like the biggest asshole, and like people forget.
dude, that Freiburg one that resurfaced is the all-time one. Like, because like that one where it's just like, because the thing is, it is one of the most unreasonable social interactions I've ever seen. Where like he's Simple like goes at the start of the round on Mirage, and it's from the perspective of Freiburg stream, and like Simple goes and gets like an entry kill, and then Freiburg's like, nice one, Simple, and then like Simple's just like, shut the fuck up, you old F, like, and says the other F word, not fuck. And
Yeah,
like,
the actual bad
and
F word.
Freiburg's face is just like, what the fuck, dude? Like, doesn't even respond. It's just like, like it's so unreal. Like, and that just shows like how fantastic, so like toxic Simple was. Like, he didn't care that he was talking to a legendary player, a major winner, like an icon to this game. He just and he doesn't care that he literally did nothing wrong. He was getting a compliment for something he did. He just fucking goes off on him. Just like,
It's also a testament to like how good Simple is. Like that didn't just like say, maybe we shouldn't pick this guy up. It was like, no, he's so good. We have to put up with it.
yeah, he's just like, it's like, get your name out of my mouth, old man, or get my name out of your mouth, rather, old man. Get out my mouth, something like that.
All right. Simple tangents aside, let's talk about the last little. Any final thoughts on Hellraisers?
For yeah, it's hard for our simple love to not overtake this show, but I'm kind of hype. Like I'm kind of hyped for Hellraisers. Like Woxic and Issa is like such an interesting duo. I think they can do damage. I don't think there's a reasonable chance that they're a dark horse so they could win or anything, but I think they can make playoffs. I think they can impress some people. Like it's fucking sucks so much that Woxic has these issues with the visas because he could probably be on a very, very good team right now, and he might not get a chance to do that until like esports gets to the point where we can consistently expect that everyone's going to get their visas.
Yeah, if you wanna watch a really good discussion on visas, the latest by the numbers had a really good segment on it. Like I don't usually watch by the numbers that often, but like that segment was really interesting when I did tune in.
Oh yeah, no, I need to have a look at that shit. So I can't remember if I watched the last episode or not, but pretty good show.
All right, the last team that we have in this other interesting teams is Tyloo. I guess like let's see if they can bring anything else out besides run through a motherfucker face strat.
Yeah, though I am tired of them, I do want to see Ben Tet like fucking get some scalps. Like I want to see him get out there, like fuck up as many teams as he can.
All the normies are going to be
Like I
tuning in.
really like. Sorry, what was that?
All the normies are going to be tuning in. They probably haven't heard of Bentet because the last time they watched CS was 8 months ago.
Oh yeah, like they're gonna be like they're. I think they are an interesting upset team in the sense that they play a really weird style, and also some teams are dumb enough to give them Mirage. But Ben 10 and Xcurate are absolutely on fire. When they get the chance, like I think if you could free up Ben Tet from that in-game leading role, he would be really fucking cool and interesting. Um, but yeah, like there's just enough talent. Like that series against Astralis, like Didi went absolutely fucking nuclear. Like he was so fucking insane on that Mirage map. Like he was winning clutches, he was getting entries, he was like getting these insane kills. Like he could just do no wrong. Like they have the firepower on this team to make playoffs, to make a decent. Like I have them. I'm pretty sure they're gonna make it out of the qualifying stages.
Time out. Did you say playoffs?
Yeah, I think they can
Playoffs?
make playoffs, dude. Like I don't know if they're going to, but I think they definitely can. It's definitely like very, or like I think that's a very reasonable goal for them to strive towards.
Let's see. Let's see. Who do we think are like a straight lock for playoffs? Let's go down this. Let's see. Astralis, obviously. Uh, Team Liquid,
FaZe, Mouse Sports,
Navi,
North probably as well.
MIBR. Like that's eight right there. Like it's gonna be
There'll be some upsets. Like two or three of them
yeah,
won't make it,
yeah. That's probably true. Just because it's the fucking major.
and as well as like it depends on the draws you get. They do have that new system that's meant to stop you getting fucked, but I
Oh
think
please.
Tyloo they should probably like strive for top like for playoffs, but I think they'll definitely make it through the qualifying stages.
Yeah, I agree. I think they'll definitely make qualifying stages as well. But like one of the most interesting things is like we're gonna have to see what kind of like bullshit like bracketing trickery that this major pulls off. Because like it happens every
Yeah.
year. Like some really good team is gonna just get fucked, and there's nothing they can do.
But yeah, I'm just trying to think if there's any other teams that would be interested. Like I think Rogue might surprise people. Like I think that's a team that's like a lot more solid than people think.
He go back at the major, baby.
Yeah. My boy Cadian, my
Ha-
boy Ricky.
Has Hiko ever gotten like a major sticker? Oh, actually, he probably did with Team Liquid.
I think he because wasn't
Yeah,
yeah.
there were
No,
simple
yeah, he
Team Liquid
definitely has.
stickers.
Yeah,
Yeah, he has.
he's gotten like two or three.
I think just two. I think it was just those two Team Liquid runs because after that he never made it
Yeah, you
back.
might be right.
Because wasn't Columbus the first with the autographs, or was that
It was the one before that.
oh
It was one of the
Cluj?
Colognes, I think.
Oh, was it Cologne or Cluj?
Actually, no, it was a while before that because trying to remember because it was the one where there's big ass stickers. I think it was a Cologne, yeah, because there was like Renegade stickers,
Oh, okay, it must have been like Cologne 2016 then. No, Cologne 2015.
something like that.
Yeah, it must have been Cologne 2015 then. How long? How on the edge of your seat were you for those fucking stickers though? Because like you were waiting forever for them to come out.
Dude, I was surprised 'cause I just wanted Yugi, Rez, and Woxic, and I was happy. But yeah, I don't know. It was a bit of a letdown, I think, because we were talking about how they should add some like more exciting stuff in for like the CS players. Like they should, I don't know, throw like gloves in or like little like fucking charms or keyring thingies you stick on your gun or whatever the fuck.
Yeah,
Like
just
they should do that for the major and they just didn't. But I thought they maybe might just because they were taking so long to get the stickers out because they got them really late. Usually it's like 2-3 weeks before the major. This time it was like 6 days before.
that's right. You better buy your pickup stickers right now before it's too late.
True.
Like that's honestly that's the only reason I don't do the pick'em because it costs money and I don't want to do that.
Yeah, it's fair. Because I usually do the pick 'em, then hold on to the stickers for ages, and then they don't do it anymore. But they used to sell like for a high. They used to be able to sell them for pretty much what you got them for in like 6 months or something.
Yeah, but then Valve just flooded the market with all these trash ass stickers.
Yeah,
How's
that's the other
how's
thing as well. Because people are kind of tired of stickers, so they aren't worth as much anymore.
I mean like that's kind of fair. Like the game's been around, like the game's been out and like pumping out stickers for like 4 years. But like the problem is like see it like as much as we joke about like Valve not giving a shit about CS:GO, like there is like some semblance of truth to that. Like I don't know where they think the future of this game lies.
Like, I mean, it's pretty obvious that they care about Dota significantly more.
Oh yeah, it's not close. Like they have
Like,
the
we're
they have the
not TF2 tier yet, but we're still like the fucking less loved child.
like I is it fair to say that like I'm a little nervous where the scene's going after this major?
In what sense?
I don't know. Like there's just like not as much like I think Nell was talking about this on Twitter. Like there's just not like very much hype for this major, like in like the general public, I guess. And like I think some of that is kind of just like the whole esports trend like cooling down, at least in the public eye. But
I guess, but I think a lot of the time it's because Astralis aren't a team that inspire the casuals.
that's true.
Whereas, like, I think a lot of people get hyped for FaZe or Cloud9, like Cloud9 or NiP, like for example, like they're teams that have shitloads of hype. Like people, I've never seen a team so hype. I've never seen a scene so hyped to watch a team get like pretty comfortably dismantled by Astralis as they were at Stockholm in that semi, or sorry, quarter semi, one of those. Yeah,
It was
kind of
semi. It
semi.
was
But
semi.
and then Cloud9 have just like a million fans. Like Cloud9 could roll out like 5 fucking matchmakers and people would still watch it. And then like FaZe, like people like, oh, they're sick. And also obviously their fan base is rampant. But they're sick, they're exciting, blah blah blah. But I think it's again that thing where, like I've said before, is like people, if you had like a really like sick, like if you had a game between like a Astralis and Team Liquid where it's like a lot like tactical and that sort of thing, people would rather watch like the fucking 10th and 11th best team in the world play as long as it was like a 16-13 or something. Like
With
people just want to be excited, and if they're casuals, they're not really excited by Astralis because uh they aren't a team who are going to have a ton of like individual plays. They're going to win by playing good Counter Strike, which isn't like for the average, like for just like a random person watching, it's not as hype if you don't have an appreciation for the game on a tactical level.
That's fair.
Like teams, like most people who watch the NFL get more hype over like Odell Beckham making a crazy catch than like the great tactics of whatever the fuck team, like the Patriots or whatever, running like a really cool play or something.
And you know what? That's totally fair because Odell Beckham is way cooler than the Patriots.
That's true. The Patriots are just a bunch of dads. Retire, old man.
I mean, I don't know if Tom Brady's ever gonna not retire. Like Alex Guerrero is just gonna keep rubbing the magic crystals on his ass, and he's just gonna keep fucking throwing for like 4,400 yards and like 30 touchdowns.
God bless him.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It's really weird, but like not to get on a fucking like football tangent, but like I'm kind of excited to see the end of the Patriots, just because like they've been doing it for fucking ever. Like it's gonna be interesting to see like new storylines. Just like, oh, the Patriots are gonna win the AFC East every year. They're gonna go to the conference championship game every year.
I don't know if I knew more about NFL. I don't know how I'd react because like I enjoy the Warriors a lot.
That's right, but the Warriors are also like they have personality. Like Bill Belichick has created football robots in New England.
That's
There's
fair
no
actually.
there's no drama to it, really. It's just like do your job. Like and like
There's
I
no
can like
people getting mad at like Draymond, or there's no people getting mad at them like there is, or to the same degree, like the animosity towards Kevin Durant is unreasonable. There's no like Draymond Green on that team.
and like honestly the Patriots have been like the most like last year the Patriots were the most interesting they've ever been because they had the whole quarterback controversy with Jimmy Garoppolo. And like, do you trade Jimmy Garoppolo and just like ride with Tom Brady for however long he has left, or do you trade Tom Brady in an unimaginable, like in doing something unimaginable like trading Tom Brady and then like plan for the future with Garoppolo, and then like now they're just kind of stuck with Tom Brady now. Like that was probably one of the most interesting parts of the season, and now the hype is gone. Like their players are getting hurt again. I don't know. New England's probably just gonna like go 12-4, get to the AFC Championship game, and then who the fuck knows what happens.
I did really enjoy the Super Bowl because like I don't watch much NFL, but I enjoy the Super Bowl. I did think it was insane the amount of people, because what was I can't remember the guy on the other team's name, but like everyone was. I thought it was triggering me the amount of people who were like Tom Brady was shown up in the Super Bowl final. It's like he was the best quarterback in the Super Bowl,
Yeah, he threw
like
for
hands
500
down.
fucking yards. Like he was better
Yeah.
than Nick Foles in the Super Bowl. What the fuck?
And the two things people brought up is like they ran a play where they threw it to Tom Brady and he did not catch it. And then they ran a play where they threw it to Nick Foles and he caught it. And also Nick Foles won, but Tom Brady did not win.
Yeah,
And
and
it's like,
like Philadelphia also had like
bruh.
the most stacked roster in the league by far. Like
And a
they were so
far better
loaded.
defense. So much better defense was played by them than the fucking Patriots. Like Tom Brady should have won. If you switch, so if you switch the defenses they had, 100,000% Tom Brady wins that,
Oh,
like hands down.
abso-fucking-lutely.
Like he nearly won it for them in spite of their defense not being good enough.
Yeah, like it's crazy though. Like people like like as much as I love Skip Bayless, he's like Bill Belichick is overrated because his defense was awful in the Super Bowl. Yeah, the problem is you need players on defense, and that Patriots defense had fucking no one.
Dude, I had a similar reaction with Shannon Sharp after that, where it's like I will always stand by you, Shannon, but goddamn, you are overrating Nick Foles' performance here.
Oh, and by the way, little Nick Foles update for everyone. He's been hot fucking trash in the preseason. Just awful. Like he's regressed to the mean of what Nick Foles generally was. Because Nick Foles was like out of the league before the Eagles picked him up as a backup. Out of the league.
I'm gonna say he's probably played the game of his career and he showed up at the right time and he's got his ring now, but like I don't think
Yeah.
he's it's
No,
not happening again.
no, it's
Fuck
not
him.
gonna happen again. Like the fucking starting quarterback who got hurt was like probably gonna be MVP of the league because he was absolutely balling the fuck out, throwing tons of touchdown passes and tons of yards as a second year quarterback. Like anyone who says like, "Ooh, there's a quarterback controversy between Carson Wentz and Nick Foles," no, there's fucking not. Carson Wentz is way better and actually has a future in the league.
Another great tangent,
Yeah, but
as always.
listen, I've got one. Listen, the NFL starts on Thursday, and I've just been watching a ton of college football. Like I've been, I watched so much fucking college football today. It's not even funny.
And I guess yeah, we edge ever closer to just the sports podcast.
Listen, I'm gonna listen. One of these days, I'm gonna get you into American football some way or another, and we're gonna have a football podcast. It's gonna
Dude,
happen.
I've been thinking about it for a while because like as you can tell from the way I talk about CS and even like other sports is I really like the tactical side of it, and like American football is, for all the problems with that sport, it is so fucking tactical that that's really cool.
Oh
Like
God,
I love that idea of like you have like you legitimately, it's like every single time you draw the play up and you plan this and you try and execute it, and that shit's really cool to me.
yeah, like football in that sense is like the ultimate team sport because like so many people have to do very specific jobs. Like I don't like it's really hard for me to imagine like an offensive lineman having being a really great athlete at anything else because they have to be so fucking technical in what they do. Like it's really cool to see a sport like that.
It's kind of like CS in that sort of way where yeah, you do have like a bunch of players and they all have to like fulfill these specific roles in these like short time periods, like where each play is like a round almost.
Yeah, I can see that.
Whereas like I'm not sure, like maybe I
I
guess
still think the NBA is a way better analog for CS than American football just because like you can have a superstar go off and like his just team can be shit like Nico and Mouse Sports, but it's super hard for like a
yeah.
quarterback to run an offense successfully if his offensive line is just getting blown the fuck up every play. Believe me, I know
You
I'm a
know, that's
Seahawks
fair.
fan. Like the offensive line has been hot trash, and not even Russell Wilson with the like really great athletic genes can save it. It's it's been a rough couple years.
So I was I was just trying to think like what are the other esports to sports comparisons, and I was gonna say like I guess Dota's probably like European football because it's more like free flowing and that sort of thing.
I honestly think League of Legends might be a decent analog for American football, just because it's like the most team-oriented esport.
Yeah, that might be fair. I
However,
was gonna say
the
like
difference between League of Legends and American football is that League of Legends is shit. So
yeah.
like
I was gonna
there's
say like I guess like boxing and UFC has to be the FGC, but then the obvious joke is that like every FGC game is just like the YouTube boxing fights, i.e. a huge joke where a bunch of babies watch something.
ha back at it again with bashing the FGC. You'll never stop. All right, listen, we've been going for like 2.5 hours. I think it's time to cut it short here.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say because I was at like a dinner thing with some like people I worked with this week, and like someone mentioned melee, and my head was like, oh, I can call them babies again, but not like.
All right, casual reminder that I will be in London at the major. You can look for me in the VIP section holding up a sign that will say, "Please watch the podcast."
Yeah, just like you've like written out the entire YouTube link.
Oh yeah, no, I'm gonna try my best to fucking pimp the shit out of the podcast live on Twitch. It's gonna be great. Listen, when the next podcast gets like 100 plus viewers because everyone saw the stream and decided to check it out as a meme, we're gonna blow up. It's gonna be great. I'm just gonna pay
And
like
act like we know absolutely nobody.
I'm just gonna pay like $1,000 to go on a European trip to promote this podcast.
You gotta go to the player signings and start like pimping it to like all of them.
Worth every penny.
Oh, you gotta find who's the most like desperate like player in a tier one team you can give like $100 to tweet it out.
That's a good question. Maybe if I run into like one of the French players who's like not on a team, like they'll do it.
Dude, Haji's like promoting VGO skins now. Like I just unfollowed him because he's like doing VGO giveaways. Like he's fucking done.
Oh God. Man, French rejects have it really fucking hard, man. So hard. But
Oh yeah,
anyways, don't follow us on Twitter at Jackalope322 and at Tom Sato. And yeah, we'll see you after the major.